I guess I'll just call it Max White Presents.
Max White, everyone!
Back, Max White Presents. It's been a while.
How long has it been? Like 2 years?
2 years, man. 2 years. And now we're, how the world has changed. Real quick, I should introduce who I have here tonight for Max White Presents. Devon Rodriguez, buddy. How you doing?
What's up? How you doing? I'm good.
It's weird doing this on video. Last time we talked was in 2018, and it was just audio, and we were in a bar in Brooklyn that my friend owned, where we did all the Max White Presents, and now we're in my place, which is been converted to a studio. How have you been? How are you holding up?
I've been great. Everything's going good. We're going through this pandemic that sucks. So, just trying to stick in there.
Some people are kind of like going negative during COVID. They're kind of turning internal, going a little destructive.
Yeah.
You, which you're a fine artist. That's how I met before. We met over at South Box, Eric Kelly's gym. And you showed me your paintings on your phone, and I thought they were photographs. You were a fine artist when we talked last, right? Do you still consider yourself a fine artist?
Yeah, for sure.
Is that what you identify as?
Yeah.
Because now, with the advent of like TikTok and social media and everything going on, there's other lanes that you're maneuvering down. I think when I first met you, you were a couple thousand, 3,000 followers.
Yeah,
and you just crossed a
probably
million.
like 10,000 when we first met. Yeah.
And last week you crossed 1 million.
Yeah. It's nuts. Can't believe it. It's crazy.
That? What's it like?
It's insane. Like when I met you, I was at 10K, or I think I was at like 20K when I met you.
We can check.
Yeah, something like that. And now I gained like 11K in one day. So like the past 2 days was like my whole Instagram existence from back then. And back then, it took me like 8 years to even get to that point. And that's like grinding super hard. And like that was a not that I thought of it as my identity, but like people would think of me as like an Instagram like star. Like I had the most followers that like my friend group would know.
Yeah.
So, like now that just, the past 2 days I gained more than I ever had. So it's like, oh my God, I'm so huge now. It's like I passed 1 million like on Instagram. If you would have asked me how long it would take me to get to 1 million on Instagram, I would say never in my life. Cause I know artists that been doing this like all their lives and they're never gonna, who hits 1 million as an artist? I feel like that's unheard of.
I mean, how many people in the Bronx have 1 million followers?
Probably like the big rappers and stuff.
And you. Yeah. Now talk about, because we're just gonna go right into it because we'll do some backstory and but specifically what occurred that, I mean, you didn't go viral. You went like pandemic. Yeah. Right. So being a fine artist, getting recognition, you're being shown. The New Yorker is writing you up. All types of newspapers written about you. But back then, it was like smaller art shows, well-known artists taking interest in what you're doing. What has happened since COVID happened that's changed that?
So I was, on Instagram, on the internet and stuff. Everyone was, super hyped about TikTok. It was like the next best thing and stuff. And I was like, let me give this a try. I was like, let me just try this out. I actually knew an artist that I'm friends with. She's from the UK. Her name is Sophia Aljabori. Shout out to her. She was on TikTok and she has a big following on Instagram. She has like 130,000 or something. I think she has like 170,000. So we always speak about art, social media, just random stuff. And she was always telling me like, you should get a TikTok. And I looked at her TikTok and she had like 500,000 followers. And I was like, whoa, that's nuts. And that was for her painting. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. Like I should join. So I joined it. I would post like videos of me painting portraits and, I did that painting of XXXTentacion. I did the painting of Kanye, Tyler, the Creator. That was my first time like doing that kind of video format and like learning how to edit videos and stuff on like an app on my phone. And they would do it right. They would get like 1,000 views, 500 views here and there. And around that time, I just so happened to want to draw people on the subway during the pandemic. I've been drawing people on the subway since like 2011. I've been doing it. but I kind of took a pause on drawing people on the subway because people would yell at me and it would get so awkward for me to like sit there and draw people. So I changed it to taking photographs of people and painting them in oil at home. And then when this pandemic happened, I thought, now the whole portrait of the subway just changed. Everyone's wearing a mask. I was so used to like staring at people's faces and thinking like, how would I draw that person? How would I like draw their nose? Or like there's like everyone has like a different shape, like features and colors and clothing and everything. And I always looked at people like, how would I paint that and imagine myself painting them? And I would always forget that I'm like staring at a person and like I can't just stare at them. And so
yeah, you're just staring at a like stranger on the subway and you're like, I want to paint your mouth.
Yeah, and they have no idea like what I'm thinking.
Especially on the 6 train.
Yeah,
like going uptown.
Yeah, exactly. That's my line. But so I was like, I gotta do some paintings of people wearing their masks. Like that would be a timestamp of this moment in history that we've never seen before and we probably never see again. And or in our lifetime, but I know how long my paintings take. I'm such a perfectionist; they take me so long, and I would have, with the wait list that I had for commissions and like for other things, I would have never been able to get to one. So I was like, you know what? Let me do a sketch. Let me do sketches. Let me go back to my roots, do sketches on the subway. But
we're gonna back it up a little bit though, because we crossed over something really quick. You had mentioned that the commissions, right? So basically, when I had met you, your primary income was commissions from rich white people that would pay you from the Upper West Side and other affluent areas to come in and paint their. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Well, I was trying to do like half commissions, half like my own work, but the commissions would like kind of take over.
Yeah, so maybe the income's not so important. Maybe you just say like that's how I'd say you would identify as, right? Like the commissions were something always weighing on your mind, right? Yeah. And then these fine oil paintings though that you're doing, didn't just draw attention from like street art, which is something you kind of branched into recently. But this was like, you're getting written up, like massive reviews in art, like major players are kind of hitting you up.
With all the like things that happened around that time, like the New York Times and the New Yorker, and having some big friends and stuff. I'm not bragging. This is honestly how I always felt. I always expected it, even as a kid. For some reason, like the way I grew up in the South Bronx, super poor. Where I grew up, like we lived in a home where like every room we had like 2 bedrooms and a basement. My bedroom was my family. It was 5 of us in one room. The next bedroom was like a whole other family. The basement was a whole other family. And it was just a bunch of insanity in my home. So even though I was raised like I had a like terrible childhood, even though I had that childhood, in the back of my mind, I always knew. And I remember like watching Disney Channel all the time. And I would always like watch like That's So Raven or like Zack and Cody and I would always think like, or like Hannah Montana, I would always see those homes and think like, that's a normal home, that's a normal family, and like that's what success is. And so, like, or like that show Corey in the House, I remember seeing like that kid Corey, Kyle Massey, and thinking like, he's like 13 years old, like, and he's a super successful actor, like that could be me, So even though I had no interest in acting, I would think like, maybe I should become an actor, maybe, because I always felt like I deserved to become that. And even though like my home was insane, like I knew this isn't normal and I'm going to be something. And it wasn't like an ego thing. I don't know what it was. It was just like, I'm meant to be like something big.
Being an artist in a house with that many people and that much, craziness isn't the right word because everyone's living their own life, but let's just say that much movement in a house.
Yeah.
To make the art that you got into, you need space to do it.
Yeah.
So how did that manifest itself in terms of like, did you just know like, I want to do oil painting?
No.
Was it sketches? You're always drawing your, brothers and sisters and cousins?
So, growing up, I always loved like drawing things around me. So I remember back in like 2005, I was maybe like 9 years old and I would always draw like, what was in style at the time, like in my neighborhood was like, I always remember seeing people wearing a do-rag, a fitted cap to the back and wearing like baggy clothes, right?
That's sick.
And so I always drew that. You could ask my aunt Imalai, like she would always like make jokes about like, she's always like, why are you always drawing gangsters? So I used to always draw like a little character, hat to the back, bandana on, and like just try to make them like super dope, super what I saw around me, like super hood, because I'm from the hood, I'm from the Bronx. So that was always like my style, drawing people around me. And then my friends that drew, once I got into middle school, I met some other kids that would draw, because I was always known as, like, in elementary school, I was always known as like the best artist in the school, but I think I was like the only artist in the school.
And that's Gompers, right?
That was PS30, my elementary school.
PS30, South Bronx.
Yeah. And then across the street, I went to a middle school there, MS343. All my friends there that drew, I had, let me think, just one friend that drew, and he did graffiti, and I was so inspired by him, like drawing graffiti. So that's what I got into. And I just got into graffiti, and I didn't get into like fine art, oil painting until like 10th grade.
What is it specifically when you saw the graffiti, if you can remember, what spoke to you? Is it like the lines, creation of the lines? Is it the act of drawing or painting, or is it the finished product? Is it a mix of both?
I think it was like everything about it. Like I always looked at graffiti like on the walls and like looked at the colors and the shapes and like try to, like, I was just so naturally into that. I never had like somebody there like showing me graffiti. It was just me as like a 7-year-old walking with my mom, like, and me being able to get the letters and like asking my mom, like, Mom, what does that say? And like she wouldn't know. So I'm like, if I know, like I see something, like I loved it. I love it. I remember hanging out with my friend Cyrus. His name is Cyrus from middle school. I remember walking home one day and he had like a small spray paint can called Alien can. It was black, and he was just like, yo, watch my back, and just did a tag. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. Like, wow, he has the power to just mark his territory like nothing. Like it would just happen in like 2 seconds. So I thought that was super cool. So that's what I was doing for a while.
Is that, we'll paint the picture in the neighborhood, right? So at your PS school, literally, right? Damn you for doing that. Damn you. I'm gonna loop that over and over again. I think you just punned me. Bastard. No, but paint that picture of like South Bronx back then. What year are we talking here? Because you're younger than me.
Like 2000, 2009.
What are you seeing on the corner?
Just all kinds of stuff. Like back when I was in middle school, all the kids that were around me, like, they would just rob people every day. Like, so I used to see stuff like that every day. I remember, and they were cool with me because I was like a class clown. So I was so funny, and I would draw people's names, like in lunch in the lunchroom. They'd be like, "Yo, draw my name and draw this like gang and draw me and my boyfriend, me and my girlfriend, like, and draw all the names." So they loved me, and I was funny and stuff. So they didn't mess with me, but they would try to invite me to like go out with them to rob people. Like they'll go in a mob every morning and go to walk through St. Mary's Park, this park in my neighborhood, and they always told me like, yo, come with us, like, and they would come into school with something new every day. They would come in with a psychic or like a PSP or a Marma or like a BB belt. These were the things that they would steal, like, and they would always tell me like, the rule is whoever takes it out the pocket keeps it. And they'll tell me like, yo, come get something, come get a psychic. And I'll be like, nah, I'm not into that. But they were still my friends because, I didn't have any other friends around. But that was just the type of stuff I saw, like a bunch of
What kept you
violence.
away from that? Specifically, you said, it's not your thing, but you're still close to them. Was it that sense of higher purpose that you were talking about earlier when you're younger? Like you just wanted to steer
at
clear?
the time, I was still close to them. No.
Yeah, you what? Oh, fair enough. Yeah, for sure. But at that time, did you know you wanted to separate? You just wanted to stay away from them. You didn't want to get into that life. Didn't want to.
I wanted to be like, at the time, I wanted to be down. I wanted to be cool, and they were like the most popular kids in the school. So I wanted to be a part of that, but I didn't want to be a part of like something that I thought was stupid, So I didn't, like I felt, like you said, I always felt like I had a higher purpose. Like one time, it was like a group of us. It was 5 of us, and I never smoked weed, but they did. So they wanted to go to this building to smoke and stuff. So we went all the way. It was a random building. We went to the top floor, and this older woman was like, "Why are you smoking weed in the staircase? Like, I'm calling the police." So there was a window there that you could see outside the building. So the police pulled up, and those friends, it was like 6 of us. All of those friends just scattered everywhere. They just ran straight down the stairs. And I thought, like, if the police came to the front of the building, why would they run downstairs? So I was like pacing back and forth on the 6th floor, like, where do I go? So I saw this older woman coming out of her apartment, and I wanted to act like she was my grandma. So I asked her, I was like, "Por favor, señora, mi amigos están fumando. Like, my friends are smoking, and I swear I'm not part of it. can we please leave and act like you're my grandma? She was like, of course, vamos, let's go. Yes. So I go downstairs and my friends are like arrested, all of them. Or I don't know if they were arrested. I think they were just detained against the wall, with the police. And I'm walking, I'm like, okay, well, so we walk out and I look at them and they all catch eye contact with me. And I'm like, I hope they don't snitch. But they didn't say anything. And I just walked past and left. And I was like, wow, I'm super lucky for that. But yeah, no, I always felt like I had like a higher purpose. And even from like that young, 13 years old, everything around me was terrible. Like, but I felt like something's going to happen. It was very like delusional because looking back, it was very delusional. Like that's
where great art comes from.
There was like no way out. But I just felt like, and I'm not saying that to brag or have an ego, because I swear if this didn't happen, if the million followers would have never came and all the other success, I would have still said that 100%, because that's what happened.
Now, when you made that cut away from street life and then kind of getting into like, let's call it art life, or let's just say it, the path to the higher cause, was the neighborhood trying to pull you back, or were most people pretty supportive? Was it a mix? Do you have certain friends that kind of ride with you that don't want you near the street shit? What is it like?
I think all my friends supported me doing, well, they weren't like against it. Nobody was against it or anything.
But it's not, no one's trying to actively pull you back in or hating? I mean, is that...
Well, during middle school, I didn't have like my art class there. We had this teacher, and that class was pretty much like a free class. The class was so like misbehaved that she never taught a lesson. It was just way too hectic. So nobody really knew that I was into art during middle school. They just knew I was into graffiti, and they all thought that was like part of the streets. So they didn't really care, you know?
Yeah. What is it about that area, right? So you go to the PS schools, and then you get into Gompers, right?
Yeah.
It's pronounced Gompers? Is that the right one?
Yeah, high school, yeah.
So break it down, Gompers. Did a little research on this. We talked about this in the last episode, but I want to revisit it. It's not exactly the nicest school out there, is it? It's actually closed for reasons. I mean, it sucks because public schools need a lot more education. But talk about Gompers. What was that environment like?
Okay, so my dream school was High School of Art and Design. Like, I wanted to go there so bad. But since my elementary school and my middle school always told me that I was super talented, and that was just embedded in me. Like, I'm the talent of the school. I'm the best artist. And I was just delusional. I didn't know. When I applied to the High School of Art and Design, I went into, you have to audition and show like 10 portfolio pieces, and I did them all last minute. So when I show up, all the other kids are like showing each other their portfolios, and I just knew like, whoa, these kids are super talented. Like looking at their portfolios, I felt like, oh my God, who the hell did I think I was? I was terrible like compared to these kids. They were so good. And anyway, I submitted my portfolio and I got rejected.
Yeah.
So I had to go to Gompers, and Gompers was one of the worst high schools in the South Bronx. It got shut down. Graduation rate was 42%. Attendance rate was terrible. The whole overall
teen pregnancy just slamming.
Yeah, everything was bad. Like the school overall grade was an F, and they used to give out surveys to like all the kids had to fill out a survey, and like one of the questions was how safe do you feel at the school, and it was like overall F. It was terrible. So I was like, I knew I shouldn't be here. So I still had an art class there. This guy named Jeremy Harper, and it's funny because he was my first class. And I have my schedule first day of school. I'm walking around the hallway. I see this guy, and I was like, hey, can you help me like find this class? And he goes, oh, Harper, that's me. You're gonna be right here. So I walk into class, and it was him. And his class was incredible. He had this amazing art class. Most of the kids weren't interested, but I was, and I was like, wow, I love this dude. Like that was like my favorite part. And I went up to him and I told him, like, hey, I applied to High School of Art and Design. I didn't get accepted, and I really want to be there. Like, can you help me transfer? And he was like, oh yeah, of course. You got to redo your portfolio. We'll do it this whole year. We'll dedicate it to your portfolio, and you'll reapply. But you can only get in as a 9th grader or a 10th grader. So I only had one more chance.
So was he the first person, like in a professional capacity, that took an interest in your art?
Yeah, for sure. And he...
What were the criticisms specifically about the portfolio? I think this is kind of interesting. What did he say? Because it was kind of like you were surprised because you were very specialized in one particular area,
Yeah.
right? Which was what at that time?
Oh, I was very specialized in graffiti.
Graffiti. Okay.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, no wonder he didn't get in. Like, you have to kind of break it down. What's it like what's his background? Not from the South Bronx?
Yeah, I think he's from Pennsylvania.
Okay.
But yeah. And
what's it like being a kid? Because there's like two parts, you've got that, what you see and what you experience every single day. And then you've got this guy coming that gives an opinion. He's from a place of power and interest. But is that kind of weird being a kid kind of from South Bronx? Is that, are you suspect? Are you challenged? Does it hurt the ego at all? Or were you generally just inspired?
I was just inspired. I didn't think anything of that. That wasn't even in my mind. I was just like, oh, this dude's going to help me. His credentials are like amazing. He went to the School of Visual Arts, and I didn't even know about the School of Visual Arts, but I remember he gave one of his first presentations was on Keith Haring, and he was teaching about Keith Haring, showed the whole documentary, and then it shows that Keith Haring went to the School of Visual Arts, and then he goes, I went there. And I was just so mind blown by Keith Haring and how famous he was and how mainstream and how huge he became and how successful he became. And then my Gompers art teacher went to School of Visual Arts. I was just like, whoa, I got to stick with this dude. Like, he's from that. And so I just stuck with him, and we worked on my portfolio every single day. And he told me what to do.
So you're working, like, breaking down hour-wise. Like, so school hours, like 8 to 3, you're working on that?
Well, our class was like just one period, so just the first period, and then after school I would go to him, and there was like a few kids that were interested in art. They would work in his class after school.
How old are you at this time?
14.
So now go home, right? Let's say like you head home after a day of like working with someone that inspires you, that takes interest in your art. Now you're seeing violence at home, right? What's it like being like to try to interpret that? Is it weird looking at a teacher maybe that can't experience that, or maybe other people? And Gompers is in the place. We'll talk about it, art and design, but specifically, like, what was occurring in the home?
So everyone I was around for my whole entire life up until that point, everyone's going through something. Like it was so normalized. I wasn't looking around like, oh my God, I'm a victim, because all my friends had something going on. It was regular. I would just go home and be inspired, and I knew that would take me out. Like, I knew for sure, like, if I just stay focused on that, I'll be fine.
Who's in the house specifically? Your grandmother?
So around that time, I was living with my mom. It was my mom, my stepdad, my brother, and my sister, and my younger sister. So it was a bunch of us.
What about now? How are you with your mom? Close with her?
Right now, we're all right. We have a decent relationship.
Yeah, back then, not so much.
Yeah, we didn't have a great relationship. My house was like super. It was just like, it wasn't a good childhood. It was like abuse and a lot of things that shouldn't have been going on. So, once I got accepted into art and design, my whole life changed, because this is another thing that happened. When I got accepted, they notified me, I think around like March or April, and I wasn't even supposed to, like, my boy, his name was Yanyel. Oh, remind me to tell you the story about Yanyel, because it breaks my heart to know, like, he was supposed to be with me in art and design, but he decided not to. But anyway, so Yanyel was like, yo, bro, come with me to change my my schedule. I want to change my lunch period. So we go to the guidance counselor. She speaks to him, and then she notices that I'm with him, and she goes, oh, hey, Devon, by the way, your letter came from art and design. So I was like, all right, cool. So she gives me the envelope, and I walk away, and she's like, wait, this is your letter to see if you got accepted. Like, open it. I want to see. And I was like, oh, all right, I guess. Like, I wanted to open it in private, but I just opened it right there on the spot. It said, congratulations, you've been accepted into art and design. You don't have to do anything else except for finishing up the school year. And then you start in September in art and design. That's it. No paperwork, no nothing. So I was like, oh, wow, easy. Like, so I told Yanyel, I said, yo, don't tell nobody. And I told him and Mr. Harper. That's it. I don't know why, but I didn't want to tell none of my boys, like, because I didn't want them to think like, oh, you trying to leave us? Like, I didn't want them to like get mad, or I don't know. I just kept it a secret.
Yeah.
So, anyway, Yanyel was supposed to, we were doing our portfolios together the whole time, and he was much better than me in drawing. I was so inspired by him too. He could draw anything from the top of his head. I'll tell him like, yo, draw a guy doing this, and he would just draw it, and it was super mind blowing. And so we were trying to get out together. I lived on I don't want to say where I lived because that's anyway, I lived in the South Bronx, and he lived above me, right? And he lived right above me, and he lived like 7-8 stops above me. And art and design was on 59th Street. It's on 56, but the train stopped 59th Street on the 6th line. So that morning we were supposed to go to both transfer and submit our portfolios. I'm like, yo, bro, you meeting me, right? And he was like, to come to think about it, it's too far. Like, it takes me an hour and 20 minutes to get there. And, I don't want to do all that. I just want to go to Gompers. And I'm like, bro, you have to come on. Like, and I couldn't convince him. And I was just like, all right, I guess I got to go alone. So I ended up getting in, and then I transferred. And yeah. Oh, what I was going to say was, when I got into art and design, my school life changed. So I went from 149th Street in Southern Boulevard to go to school in Midtown, 56th and 2nd.
Talk about specifically, what's the first person you saw when you walked into art and design? We talked about it in 2018. Do you remember what you told me?
Oh, the girl sitting down on the floor with eating an apple. Yeah, of course. I can't forget that.
Break that down. You're coming from South Bronx.
Yeah.
You walk into art and design in Midtown. Most people listen to this don't live in New York City. Midtown is nicer. There's a lot more money there.
Yeah, it's a little nicer.
And what was the first thing you saw? I want to recap.
So right in front of the school, it was this girl sitting on the floor on the sidewalk, reading a book and eating an apple. And for some reason, that visual to me was so weird because it was so out of my element. Like, you wouldn't see that. If you sat on the ground in the Bronx, they're like, I don't want to like, but like where I was at, like my experience in my school, if you sat on the ground, people would make fun of you, like, yo, you're fucking dirty. Like, that's just how it was.
Yeah, she looked like a college brochure.
Yeah,
like checking every white girl stereotype that's out there.
Yeah, so I was just super surprised by that. But
so boom, you started art and design, right?
Yeah.
Day one, you're in there.
So when I started there, at the same time I had an ACS case from my home life.
What's ACS?
It's this, I don't know what it stands for, something child services,
okay.
Like abused child services. And there was like a bunch of abuse going on in my home. So
physical?
Yeah. Physical, mental, verbal, all of that.
Gotcha.
So we got put into, the judge granted us to get removed. So we got put into my grandma's house. And it was around the same time. And my grandma's home was this is just to give you like give you perspective. In my mom's home, in the bathroom, there was always a stripper magazine, right? A brand new one, a new issue like every month. And inside of it would have like interviews with strippers, pictures of strippers, all kinds of stuff like that. And we were kids, and that was there. In my grandma's house, she has like a book of Mother Teresa in the bathroom, like holy stuff. Like, she's super duper Catholic. So all kinds of people were like running up and out of my mom's house. But in my grandma's house, it was all like, she didn't like anything negative. It was all like super holy. So her environment was very safe. And so, and there was breakfast in the morning every day. There was lunch every day, dinner. Well, we had lunch in school, but there was breakfast and dinner every single day. My mom's house didn't have that. So, so around the same time we got granted to go to our grandma's house. And then I got into a better school. So my whole life changed around that point, like 10th grade. Everything changed. What's
it like when you roll into art and design and you walk by the girl sitting on the ground eating the apple? In terms of personality, you could be a nice diamond in the rough type kid from the Bronx, but crossing over to that Midtown, probably came off pretty hard, I'd imagine.
Yeah, when I was the summer after 8th grade, I got a star tattoo right here that I ended up getting removed because I didn't like it. But I got a star tattoo right here on my elbow. And I was like 13 when I got that. So once I get into the school, they were like, whoa, how does this kid have a tattoo so young, And then they knew I was from the Bronx. And so for like a whole year, I didn't really have friends because they didn't really want to mess with me. And then I thought that like they were like super different from me. Like I wasn't used to seeing the kids on the floor eating the apples and stuff. And like seeing like, I just wasn't used to that. So I had a whole year of like getting you know, how do you like getting into the environment, getting accustomed to the environment.
So are you walking in there and you're like higher purpose, like you got that bravado? Are you talking shit, huh? Are you sending Facebook messages?
Oh yeah.
Are you telling people that how good you are? Is that what you're rolling in there kind of hard?
Yeah, shout out to Malcolm from high school. I have a message in my phone on Facebook. Well, I actually used to go around, and I would never do this now, but this is me being a 14-year-old stupid kid. I used to go around like telling kids like, yo, I'm going to be the best artist in this school, which if a kid said that to me, I would probably not like him. But, you know, I wasn't thinking like that. All I was thinking was I got to get myself out of this environment. I got to, and I loved art. So it wasn't just to like become successful. It was because I loved art and I want to be successful. So, I used to say, I'm going to be the best artist in the school. I'm going to be the best artist in the school. And I said that to Malcolm and he was like, oh, you can't compete with Craig. And I was like, who's Craig? And he was like, Craig is this kid. Like, he's amazing. So I said, spell his name out. So I found him on Facebook and Craig had the most beautiful graphite drawings, like portraits, super. And I was like, oh my God, like if I want to compete with this kid, like I got to practice every day. Like, I can't, like he was amazing. So
are you looking at art like that? Is it a blood sport at that time?
At that time, yeah. At the time, I didn't, no one ever taught me about art. I wasn't like going to museums or anything like that. It was just straight up like, I looked at realistic drawings and I was like, wow, that's beautiful to me. That's what I want to do. So, so I went to, I heard of the AP art teacher. His name was James Harrington. Mm-hmm. And so I went to his class and I saw him painting a student, right? He used to paint students like every day, like a new student live. He has like thousands of paintings of portraits of students. So so when he was done, I was like, hey, can I speak to you? I want to be in this class. Like I knew that was the best class, so I had to be at the top, right? And he was like, oh, I only have 10th grade. I only have 11th graders and 12th graders. So you have to show me your portfolio and then I have to write you down and get you accepted. So I showed him my drawings. I was like, I have some in my bag right now. And he was like, oh, these are beautiful. Like at that point, I already practiced like a whole, like a year and a half. So I was much better than before. And he was like, oh my God, these are beautiful. Like you're in, let me write your name down. So I was like, all right, I can't wait to get to that class. And he was like, oh, by the way, I give out scholarships to the Art Students League for the summer. So you could practice like drawing from life, drawing nudes and stuff. So that summer after 10th grade, every day I would go to the Art Students League and draw models from life every day. So I was ready for Craig. So
yeah, Craig, I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm ready for Craig. Like I'm drawing from life. I'm doing this every day. I'm learning from like the best like teachers ever. So 11th grade, first day of school when I have Harrington's class, I walk in early. I'm like, I'm gonna be there early. As soon as I get there, Craig is right in the front and most of the seats are empty. Like there was like 5 students there, like just the early ones. So I'm like, oh shit, that's Craig. So I run over there to sit right next to him. I'm like, I'm ready for Craig. Like I'm gonna show him who I am. Like
with your star tattoo?
Yeah, I'm ready for Craig. He'll see. So the first lesson was to draw this. He had a horse, a cast statue of a horse head, and we had to draw that from life. And we had like a week to draw it, super realistic. And that was exactly what I was practicing all summer. So I'm like, Craig is not gonna like, I'm ready for you. So he's drawing. He's to the left of me. I'm to the right of him. I'm drawing, and I would watch his page the whole time, and I'm drawing. And then, we start like. There was like another kid around us. So we start like cracking jokes here and there. And right away, me and Craig just clicked. I'm like, yo, Craig is mad cool. Like, why am I competing with him? Me and Craig became best friends. And to this day, we're best friends. Really? Best friends, yeah. Best friends. We speak every single day.
What's Craig's last name?
Craig Franco. Kreg Franco. Go follow him.
Big ups to Craig Franco.
Yeah, big ups to Craig Franco.
Sorry, Devon had to cheat off your paper while he was looking over at you.
Yeah, no, it's funny. Like, I went in trying to compete with him, and we came out best friends. He's one of my favorite people in this world.
Do you think art is something you're born with or something you learn?
I think it could be like both for.
Because in your family, you have a history of great artists.
Yeah.
So, which we're going to get into right now. So, tell us about your dad. Didn't know your dad growing up. Right?
Yeah, no.
How did you find your dad?
So, my dad was this, you know how I told you my whole, everyone around me like had that story, like that cliche Bronx, cliche street, inner city poverty story. Like that wasn't special, you know, like if I couldn't complain to my friends, like we all going through something. So that's all I knew. But the only like light that I saw at the end of the tunnel was my dad. Like people used to show me pictures of his tattoos or like my mom used to show me his tattoos in magazines. And I was like, my dad is in a magazine. As a kid, you see somebody in a magazine, they're famous. So I'm like, and his work was amazing. So I'm like, my dad is in a magazine. His tattoos are insane. People on the block would like give me so much respect. Like, yo, that's Carlos's son. He did this tat on me. And my mom would tell me like great stories about him, show me pictures of him when he was in the Marines, and he's like super muscular. He would like, so he had like all these muscles. He's super good looking. I heard all these great stories. I see these tattoo magazines. So to me, he's like a superhero, you know, that's like my superhero. Like, where is he? Like, why did he leave? Because he left me when I was like 3. So I'm like, why did he leave? And he's an artist. Like, that's what I'm into. Like if only I had him, I wouldn't be in this abusive home. I wouldn't be in this life, you know? So all my life is like, I used to ask everyone, yo, where's my dad? Yo, people on the block, yo, you got a tattoo by my dad, right? You know where he's at? Like, ask my uncle, my dad's brother, yo, where's my dad? Where's my dad? And my mom would always tell me my dad was in Miami. But I'm like a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old asking around, where's my dad? Nobody knew. So I took it upon my own hands when I was like, I think 12. I looked him up on MySpace. And my dad's name is Carlos Rodriguez. So, you know, there's like a million of those. So I asked my mom, like, what's like a nickname that he has? And she told me that his nickname was CeeLo. So I looked up CeeLo, and I'm going through all the pages, and like it was like late, like I don't know, 16, 17. There was one that says CeeLo Peligro, and it had a Hanya mask
that he drew.
That he tattooed. It was like a blue one on the shin. I remember.
So recognized it was like CeeLo Dangerous. Yeah. So
I was like, that's him. Like, it's a Hanya mask. I knew the kind of tattoos he did. He did Japanese tattoos. So I'm like, yes, I found him finally. Like that was like my life's mission. So I find him, I click on it, and MySpace used to tell you like when the person last logged in. So his last login was 3 years prior to that day. So I was like, oh, he's never gonna see my message. Like, it's done. Like, there's nothing I could do. So I went through his top 20 friends. I probably went through all his friends, and I wrote this long message like, hey, my name is Devon. I'm Carlos's long lost son. I've been looking for him all my life. If you could please tell me where he's at. I'm an artist. I want to be an artist. Like, please help me find him. So I copied and pasted that message to all of the friends.
I'm torn because it's very inspiring if you got that message, but what kind of a friend tells you where dad's at?
Yeah, no, they would all say like yeah, sorry, I don't know where dad, I don't know where dad's at and stuff. But yeah, there was one person, that this girl named Kristen. She didn't even write much. She wrote Flying Panther. I think it was Flying Panther. Yeah, she goes Flying Panther NSD. That's it.
What?
Yeah, that's all she wrote.
So Flying Panther, I'm assuming, is his nickname, and he's in San Diego.
Yeah, so I copied and pasted. I just knew the San Diego part, so I copied and pasted that whole thing, put it into Google, and it said Flying Panther Tattoo Shop, San Diego, and they had a phone number, right?
Dude, your higher purpose might have been detective work as well as art.
Right. So I was 13. Yeah, I was 13. I remember this guy on 3rd Avenue, 149th Street gave me a job at 13, super young. So I was working at a stationery store called Tannins. And when I got that message, I was on my lunch break. We had a computer in the back that the boss would let us use on the lunch break. So I was on MySpace, and this is during my last 5 minutes of break. So I get that message, and I wanted to cry. I was like, oh my God, I gotta like I wanted to call him right then and there, but I couldn't because this is the end of my lunch break. I can't have that 5-minute conversation. I didn't even have a phone. So I wrote the number down on a piece of paper, ripped it out, put it in my pocket, and I was just anxious for the rest of my day. I think I got out at like 6 or something. So I had like 3 more hours to go. And throughout my job, I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to get out of here. I can't wait. I'm gonna run to that payphone. I can't wait. I get out. I asked my boy at the cashier, I'm like, yo, give me quarters. I got like $3 in quarters, put in my pocket. Went down the hill. There's like this payphone right in front of this Party City store, right on 3rd Ave. And I call, right, and a guy picks up. He's like, hello. I'm like, he goes, Flying Panther Tattoo. I'm like, hello, can I speak to Carlos? He goes, who's this? I'm like, this is his son. He goes, give me a second. So he goes, hello, and I'm like, yo, it's Devon. You remember me? And he goes, of course I remember you. You're my son. And I'm thinking like, of course you remember me. So why didn't you like? Where were you? So I didn't say that. I was just like, he goes, yo, you must have done some crazy ass fucking detective work for you to find me, because I've been ducking from baby mamas for years. Because my dad, he has 18 kids.
Yeah.
From like a bunch of different.
I mean, dude, that's a pretty pointed phone call. Can you imagine getting that phone call? Like, to have the answer, hi, it's Devon, your son. Like, especially when you're at work.
Yeah.
Put the position that he's in.
I know, right?
That's pretty rad, though, that he rolled with it.
Yeah, no, he went with it, and we spoke. From then, we spoke every day, and he told me, don't tell your mom, like, that we were talking. I'm like, oh, yeah, of course. I'm like, since he was my superhero, I was, like, loyal to him. I'm like, you know what? And my mom, I wasn't, like, a fan. So I was like, yeah, I'm not going to tell my mom. Cool. Like, and then 3 months into us talking, he was like, yo, you should come over here. And I was like, how? Like, I'm in school. And he was like, oh, you go to school here? And I was like, yeah, all right, let's do it. I was willing to drop everything, drop my friends, drop everything. I was like I think I was in 8th grade then. I was willing to drop my whole life to go to San Diego and go to school there. And I told my mom, like, and he was like, just speak to your mom about it. Just tell her. I was like, Mom, my dad said, I started speaking to my dad. Remember, I found him on MySpace, blah, blah, blah. She was like, are you insane? Like, I raised you. You're not going to just up and leave. You're not an adult. You don't just run your life. And I remember I just started crying. And I told him, like, I was like, yo, I hate my mom. Like, I understand why she said no. Like, it's just, he left and I can't just bounce like that. But I called him. I'm like, yo, I hate her. Like, this is why I hate her so much. Like, she's not letting me go. But so we spoke on the phone, like, for like a long time. And yeah.
So then what? So basically, at that time, he's in San Diego, or is he in Miami yet?
He's in San Diego.
San Diego at the time. So then you're at school. You can't leave. Time passes, and then you can go down, and you did move in with him, right? How did that kind of go down?
So around, let me think. I think it was a year later where 2011. Wait, hold on, sorry.
I'm asking you again. So how you're in school, you want to move down with the dad, your mom wouldn't let you.
Yeah.
But then eventually you did move down there. How did that happen?
Well, first I met him initially in 2011. He was in San Diego, and in 2011 we would speak on the phone, and he said, I'm coming down there. This is when the next year I got transferred to my grandma's home, or to my aunt's home. It was like a mix between my aunt's home and my grandma's home. At first it was my aunt's home. So I was at my aunt's home. No, I think we were still going through the case while I was staying at my aunt's home.
Child services case.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
And you're no longer at your mom's. You've been put in your aunt's or your grandmother's house.
Yeah, I think it was like temporary custody around that time. So I was staying there for a while. And so I would speak to my dad. I'm like, yo, I'm out of my mom's house. Like, please come. And he was going through something with his girlfriend at the time. So he came all the way to New York to hang with me. So we hung out for like a month, I think. And
you talk art?
Yeah, like I'll go to the tattoo shop and like, yeah, we would talk about art and stuff. Yeah, I would show him like my drawings and I would tell him, I wasn't in art and design at the time, because I remember when... Still Gompers? Yeah, I remember I was in Gompers, and we planned for him to come to my house, and to my aunt's house, and And so he already had his date ready to come to New York, and we told him like, oh yeah, just the door's gonna be open. Go inside. My aunt was at work. I was in school. So I knew he was gonna be at the house by 11 in the morning. So in Gompers, you could just leave whenever you want. In art and design, they would never let that happen. In Gompers, you could just walk out to school, like get up out of class and walk out to school, and you don't get in trouble. So I wouldn't do that, but when he got there, I was so nervous. I'm like, all right, time to go. I left school, went straight over there. I remember going up the elevator. I'm not religious at all, but I did the sign of the cross. You know, I'm going up the elevator, about to meet my dad. I'm like, anything's going to help. So I did the sign of the cross. I'm like, please God, like help me. Like I'm about to meet my dad. Like I've been looking forward to this moment all my life. So I walk inside the apartment and he goes, the first thing he said was like, yo, Devon, oh my God, you look just like me when I was your age. Like you remind me of like a mini me. And so we walked around the neighborhood. I remember we walked around to get bread and some groceries and stuff. We got along for like a whole month, but then we started to not get along because he started acting like too, I don't even know how to describe it. He thought I was like too soft.
Well, what's that like? Because obviously, you know, he comes from a harder background. Very G background.
Yeah.
Right? He's known for being, got Peligro in his name.
Yeah.
Right? What do you say about your art? Before we get into personality-wise, what do you actually say about your art? Did you like your art at the time?
Well, I didn't like my art at the time. So.
Yeah, but what was he saying about it? Was it similar to maybe, you know, you look like him. Was your art similar to his when he was younger?
He was into graffiti around like 14, 15 years old. And he did go to art and design too. He ended up getting kicked out of art and design for like, he told me like he had a gun and got expelled. Did
you know that he went to art and design before you'd gone there? Or is that something else you learned? Okay.
Yeah. So I did tell him at the time, like, I'm going to go to art and design. And he was like, oh yeah, I went there. And he told me like stories and stuff. But yeah, I didn't like my artwork at the time. And we would talk art and I don't know. He didn't really. I wasn't that good, so he didn't say much. You know, like yeah. Well, he wasn't impressed or anything.
So that month that you're hanging out, he's not in New York now. Had you moved down?
When you
started not getting along.
We started not getting along, and then I was kind of over it, and he just went somewhere else. I didn't even know or care, like, because we just didn't get along, and I was just like, damn, like all that time I was dying to meet him, and he didn't turn out to be the guy that I expected. Towards the end, didn't really treat me nice, so. I was like, whatever. So, then we stopped talking for like a year or two. So let me see. That's, so then I don't know. That's like 2 years later. What is that? 11th grade or 12th grade. So we started talking again around like 12th grade. Not that much, but then like after high school, we would talk like, actually 12th grade, we would talk a lot on the phone. And then he would want me to go down. Then he was in Miami. He wanted me to go down to Miami, but I couldn't. I was in school, and then the next year I was at FIT. I was in college. I ended up dropping out of college, and this is 2015. I dropped out of college because I wanted to pursue art on my own. I thought like I just had commissions going on already, and then I had schoolwork, and I didn't have time for both. And I was like, am I gonna do this for the grade, or am I gonna do this for my career? And I chose my career. So around that time, I'm like, yo, I'm free now. I left school. We could do it. I have nothing to do. So then I went down to Miami and I met him and
we'll talk about this. So you get down to Miami, right? And now you're no longer visiting with your dad that you just met.
Yeah.
Now you're living with him. And he starts to not approve so much of your, you know, quote unquote softness.
Yeah.
So there's tension, right? Because his son isn't similar to how he was or how he perceived. So walk it through, like, what was going on there? Is it challenging you? Is it?
Yeah. So I was 19 at the time, and so I get to his home, and he just thought that I wasn't like tough enough for him. Like he thought that when he was growing up, like he was a super gangster, and he had this image of like how it is to be raised in the Bronx. And he was raised. We come from the same neighborhood. Well, I come from his neighborhood, but he was there in the 80s, where it was way worse and more violent. And
height of crack. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So he came from that, and like he looked at me, and I'm like some art school kid, and like I went to art college, and you're
that white girl sitting on the floor eating an apple.
Yeah, and he wasn't into that. So he was. he would just call me a whole bunch of names and stuff, and then he ended up kicking me out of his home. He was like, "You're too soft for this home," or something like that. So I was.
He had
like,
some substance issues.
huh?
He had some substance issues.
Oh yeah, for sure. He was like an alcoholic, which I didn't know how bad it was. Like I didn't know. So
You had a sister down there, right? That's kind of cluing you into how it was all going, or a half sister.
Yeah. I had a half sister, Kiara. She was living with him, and then she had her son Lee, that was also there. And yeah, he I knew he was an alcoholic because his hands would shake, like he would have the shakes and stuff, and he would also like vomit every day, and which I thought was weird, but Kiara told me that it was fine and that he used to vomit blood and that now it's not blood anymore, so it's okay. And I was like, all right, she knows him, so I didn't know. I was like, I guess it's okay. And I remember he was tired of tattooing, and he was a Marine, so he proved that he had PTSD and because of the war. So he got $3,000 a month from the VA, so he didn't have to tattoo anymore. He was already like 5 years retired from tattooing, and he would tell me like, I hate tattooing, like I'm so tired of it, like I'm glad I'm out, I'm glad I'm getting paid to do nothing, like I hate it. But he tattooed me. He was like, I'll do you because it's not like every day, it's like it's not a grind anymore, like I'll do it for fun. So he had this Hanya mask on his hand that he did on himself on his left hand. So he did this Hanya mask on his left hand, and I thought it was so dope. I remember back when in my aunt's house, I told him like, yo, I want that tattoo. That tattoo's amazing. And he was like, oh yeah, I drew this up myself, I did it. So I was like, I want it. I've been begging him for it since then. Like every time we spoke on the phone, like, don't forget my Hanya. So when I got to his house, he was like, yo, look, I was waiting for you to get here. Look, I got your Hanya. So he had it drawn out. He redrew it. So like 2 weeks in, he was like, all right, we're gonna do the tattoo. Before that, he would work on my sister's sleeve. And he would like show me, he'd be like, yo, come watch me. So he would like show me, he taught me how to set up a tattoo station, how to not cross-contaminate, how to, if you're going to go touch your phone, you got to take off your gloves and put on new gloves because, you could have blood on that phone and then the next client he taught me all the ins and outs and stuff. So then it was my turn to get tattooed. And he drinks 2 beers, like he just downs them. I'm like, yo, what are you doing? You trying to tattoo me drunk? Like, no. And he's like, oh yeah, no, I tattoo better because I get the shakes. And once I have alcohol in my system, like my hands aren't shaking anymore. So he does this Hanya mask that I've been begging for, this one right here. And I was so hyped. And I remember I fell asleep through it. And that kind of proved to him, he was like, yo, maybe you are tough. Like, damn, you could take pain. And anyway, so then he kicks me out. Like 2 weeks later, so I only stood there for like 3 weeks in total in the beginning. That was I think that was March. That was March. He kicks me out. He's like, I could curse on this, right?
Yes.
He's like, get the fuck out of my house. Get out of here. Throws my luggage out the door. I don't want to make this dark, but like, do it out the door, whatever. This is what happened. So whatever, I leave. He just thought I was too soft. He just had a mental illness, and I understand, I don't have any blame against him. I still love him. He just had a mental illness, but so he kicks me out. I go back home, and you know how when like there's a girl that like you really like, and you don't want to text her, like you're like, I gotta wait. So that's how I thought of him. I'm like, I gotta wait till he texts me first. He gotta text me first. Like I know it's gonna happen. I'm waiting. The end of the rest of March passes by, no call, no nothing. I'm like, damn. April 8th was my birthday. I'm like, I'm gonna see if he remembers. The whole week passes by, no call, no birthday call, no nothing. I'm like, damn. So I waited till like April 10th or something. Still no call. Like I waited even more. Still no call. So I was like, you know what? I can't take this anymore. I'm gonna call him. So I call him, and he's like, I'm like, yo, why'd you kick me out? Like, can I come back? And he's like, yeah. He used to call me Papi sometimes. Whenever he was in a good mood, he was like, yeah, I'm sorry, Papi. I'm sorry the way things went. I'm sorry how things went down. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't want things to go down like that either. Like, I've been looking for you all my life, and then that's how it happens. Like, And he goes, I'm like, we got to fix it. He's like, oh, yeah, come back. And I'm like, all right, great. Like, perfect. So I bought my ticket for May something. I go back in May. Anyway, I go back in May and then we started working out together. Because I remember him being impressed, like during my first visit. He was talking about how much push-ups he did at the Marines when he was younger and stuff, and I was always like into push-ups, so I was like, I could do that, I could do 50, I could do 60, and he was like, no way. He was like, do it right now. So I think I did 70 straight, and he goes, yo, Kiara, to my sister, he goes, yo, Kiara, maybe he is tough, like, yo, he just did 70, like, oh my God. Like, while I was doing, like, once I hit 50, he's like, yo, this dude is tough. So I remember he wanted to train me. He was like, yo, you got potential to be tough. So we started training together, right? And I wanted to train, I wanted to get fit, but like 10% of it was to like prove it to him that I'm not this soft person that he thought he was and kicked me out for. So he was like, yo, you got to get a gym membership because they have more equipment, because he has some free weights, but he was like, you need more than this to get big. So I was like, all right. So I signed up for the Planet Fitness. It was like an hour away. My first day I go sign up and I work out for an hour. I come back. This is 2 days into me. Being there the second visit. Kiara's in beauty school. I'm at the gym. I come back from the gym. My dad is babysitting the baby Lee. So I come into the house and I didn't know how bad his alcoholism was, but he ended up passing away in the home. And
did you find him?
Yeah. So I found him and the baby was like crying and stuff. So that was 2 days into me being there the second time. So I was like, wow, this is almost like a calling, you know, like, and since he wasn't tattooing anymore, that tattoo he gave me, he's been tattooing for like 24 years. That tattoo he gave me was his last tattoo ever of his whole life, his whole career. And then I come back for 2 days and I just so happen to find him. I was like, wow, this is like a movie, you know, like what are the chances that happens? But yeah. That's how it went down.
What's that in terms of you like carrying that around, right? You're away from your dad for a very long time. You get to know him a little bit. You have a minor falling out. You move away. You come back. You're with him on his last few days. Looking back at that now, because how many years ago was this?
5.
So 5 years ago. Looking back now, what sounds like you're it's meant to be. You're glad that had happened, but is there anything in particular that stands out about it?
I mean, I'm glad that I met him because I always had this vision in my head, you know, like, oh, if I was raised with him, my life would be much better. But then I realized like it wouldn't have been, because it just wouldn't have been. I don't know. What was the question? How?
There's something happened because you were kind of playing the hot girl game with him. Like, I hope he calls.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, you finally picked up the phone and you hit him up and you went down there. What does that feel like? You know, you find him, you find your dad dead.
Yeah.
The baby's there. How long are you staying down there longer now, or are you coming right back?
No, we came right back.
Is there a shift to work now? You're like, come back to the city. You know that it's a wake up call, obviously, because I know I have alcoholism in my family.
Yeah.
Do you ever I think we're all run from our family history, but we all run from chemistry in our family, like mental illness or alcoholism with certain people. Does that come in your family at all? Is there not just alcoholism and drugs, but is there mental illness?
I think like my mom is definitely an alcoholic, so both my parents are, and I'm blessed that I'm not. You know, I would tell you, I'm not like really into, like, I'll have a drink.
Yeah.
I go out whenever I can. I mean, not now, but
yeah.
Maybe once everything opens back up.
Yeah.
We'll get back to it. No, but no, I'm not like, that's not like my thing. That's not my calling. You know, I was afraid growing up with my mom, like, I know weed is not bad. Weed is great. But you know, growing up with my mom, she gave me a fear of weed because of the way her lifestyle was.
A stigma was attached to it.
Yeah. I attached that to like everything she was doing. Like, I didn't want to do anything she was doing.
Yeah.
So you know, she was drinking like crazy, doing all this violence. I used to watch her. I watched her stab my stepdad. Like me, my brother, and my sister watched her stab my stepdad. And it's what's sad about that story was we would watch fights so much, like fist fights so much in my house, that in the beginning I would cry. Like I would cry, like just watching two people that I loved so much, like my mom and my stepdad, like punch each other in the face and stuff. Like that would make me cry. But I got or like my just people fighting, like my yeah, I don't want to like expose too much, but like just watching stuff like that. I remember I got to a point where I got used to it. And I would stop crying and I would be able to see it and be tough about it. And I remember I was like 12 years old and I think my sister's like 4 years younger than me. So she's like 8. And I remember she watched one of the fights and she starts crying. And I feel so bad because I remember making fun of her. And I was like, oh, you crying? You can't take it. You can't take it. But this is me being a stupid 12-year-old kid thinking that I'm tough now.
Yeah.
This is stuff you're not supposed to see as a kid, you know? So I'm like, you can't take it. You crying like you're not tough enough. I'm like bragging that I'm tough now. Anyway, there was a time when my mom stabbed my stepdad because he cheated on her or whatever. So
in front of you?
Yeah, in front of me, my sister, my brother. Yeah, I don't want to make it like too dark, but yeah, that's what happened. And me and my brother were just like we were just like, yo, mommy's crazy. Like, I can't believe that happened. Like, it was just so normalized. Like, yo, this is what, but there was nothing we could do to get out of it. Like, we're kids. So things like that were just so like normalized, you know?
So life experience makes up who we all are, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's life experience gives you like these tools in your toolkit to work with, right? Yeah. Now, do you think like, because seeing that, you know, and you're comparing that awful violence in the household, but then you have this incredible drive for a higher purpose, which you didn't know at the time was art, but it was working towards being art.
Well, it was.
Is that an edge? Is that an edge towards the other kids that you were in art school with?
By the way, it was towards art the whole time, but it would just be random, like random inspirations of like the acting thing. It was just like, oh, he's 13 years old. That's like the fast pace to get to that. But it was always art. That was always what I loved. And if
was it out or was it up? Was it like you wanted to get out of the situation that you're currently in, or do you just want to rise? And there's a difference. Both.
Both,
okay?
yeah,
all
both
right.
For sure, yeah.
Okay. All right. And so so like when you're sitting in, you know, next to Carl in art class, right? Yeah. That seems like you've got a lot of...
That's funny because the kid I sat next to in art class was Carlos. He was one of my friends.
Oh, yeah. So wait, who's the good painter?
It was Carlos and Yanel, my two friends.
Oh, yeah. Yanel, I know, but who was the one with the graphite?
Oh, the teacher?
No, the graphite. The kid, the graphite artist.
Oh, that was art and design, Craig. Yeah.
Craig, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Craig Franco. My fault.
Yeah.
Not knowing his background, but with all that experience that you have inside yourself, is that giving you a leg up on the competition?
Yeah, I felt like I was. I felt like these kids have never ever seen what I saw. Maybe they did. I don't know what they've been through, but in my head, I was like, these kids could never see what I saw and like go through what I've been through. You know, so I felt like invincible. I felt like I could do anything. That's why I had that ego, and I went around telling kids like I'm gonna be the best artist in this school. And you know, looking back, it's so like distasteful to say that and to hear. And I would never be like that. But that's just what happened. That's just my history.
Now, after art and design, you start getting noticed more, right? You start needing a place to work. Walk it through, like, so what was done with art and design, then you go to FIT, right? And then you met someone that took you in.
Yeah.
Now, is this Diane?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. Diane's a lovely lady. We hung out with her at the New Yorker.
Yeah.
How did that go on? So basically what happened, she said, and correct me if I'm wrong, she had heard about your work from her ex-husband.
Yeah.
and you were giving him some money to rent the place, and you were staying there, right?
Yeah. Okay. So my whole life, like, okay. So after so I was at FIT. I dropped out because I had commissions, and I thought like I could do it. I believe in myself. I could do it. I could.
Wait, we're gonna stop real quick. So Gompers,
Yeah.
art and design.
Yeah.
Then from art and design, how did you get in FIT, and how much time passed?
I applied for FIT. I think you apply for college like senior year or whatever, and then I got accepted into FIT, and I just went there the next year, which
The
is
next September.
2015.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was there, and then I ended up dropping out. I was like, you know what, I could do this, because the foundation year was stuff that all the art and design kids were like frustrated, because that foundation year of college was stuff that we all knew. We all had it down packed because we
What's
went
the foundation year? Is that like when you make like liberal arts school and they make you take like basket weaving?
They just make you take like everything, like all the majors.
Gotcha.
Not all the majors. No, sorry, that was wrong. They make you take like fundamentals of drawing, like level 1 drawing, and we been dominated level 1 drawing like in high school. So Craig was frustrated. I was frustrated. All the other art and design kids that were there were frustrated about it. But I'm the only one that like, well, like I'm out of here. Like I already know this, you know. So I ended up dropping out, and because that would have been 4 years of my life, and I was like, I could put those 4 years. I know. Well, at the time, I felt like I know how to put those 4 years into something that's gonna leverage me in a stronger way than school. That's what I felt like, because I'm putting all my hours into school, and then I'm too tired to even do my own ideas and my own stuff. And I felt like if I did my own stuff, I could like do more than school. But so I ended up leaving, ended up going right back to my room in my grandma's house and painting there. Would paint all the stuff that I wanted. Would paint every day. That's what I do. It wasn't hard for me. That was my job. So I had this one commission that was I was, how old was I? After art and design, I'm like 19. Yeah, I was like 19, 20. So I'm living with my grandma again. Oh, by the way, I dormed at FIT because I wanted to live in Manhattan.
Nice.
So I dormed in Manhattan. So I'm back at my grandma's. I'm painting. My commission prices, I'm trying to put them higher, you know. So I think this one commission that I got, I was like, you know what? Let me try to get this good price. So I was like, I told the guy $2,000, and he said yeah, and I was so shocked. I'm like a 19-year-old kid. I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna get $2,000 for something that I love to do anyway. I was doing it for free in high school, and I loved it. So I'm like, all right, let's do it, $2,000. But around that time, my grandma's husband, like, he hated the smell of oil paint. Like, I don't know how he had this super strong nose, but he could smell. My room was away from his, and the door was closed, and I would put the towel underneath the door, and somehow every time I opened my paint box, he could smell it within 5 seconds, and he hated it. He hated it so much, it would drive him crazy. He'd be like, get him out of here. Like, I hate the smell. Like, you can't paint in this house. He was so mad about it. So I couldn't paint it there anymore. Like, I just couldn't. He was just like, I'm sorry, you can't paint here anymore. So I was like, all right. So I got on Craigslist. I'm like, I'm going to find the cheapest place that I could paint. I don't care where it's at. So one of the cheapest ones I found was this place in Crown Heights, Brooklyn. And, you know, I grew up in the Bronx, in Mott Haven. So I felt like I could go through any neighborhood. I could go anywhere. I always felt like I could go anywhere, and like I'm fine. So I'm like, I never heard of Crown Heights. I'm like, but I'll go. It's just a space. I'm gonna be in my room. So I go meet the guy. This room was a room in his home, in his whole family home. So I'm like amongst, like, you know, all his family life and stuff. The room was tiny, but I didn't care. It's like, as long as I couldn't have my easel and my bed. I had a twin size mattress that I couldn't have them both open at the same time. So whenever I had my easel open, I would put my mattress up against the wall. So I needed to get that commission done. So I was like, the commission is going to take me like a month. So that's $400. I get the $1,600 that I could keep. So as I do that one, I got another commission. And so I'm like, all right. And he let me pay on a month by month basis. The guy, his name is Mark. Shout out to Mark. Mark, he was amazing. He's an amazing person. He loved me as an artist. He loved my work. He treated me like family. He would give me food and stuff. He was amazing. And And so he would always tell me like, update me on your work. Your work is amazing. Like whenever, like I would love to peek in to see your work in progresses whenever I can. Like I would love to come to your art shows. Like just always tell me what you're doing. Like he loved me. So I would always tell him. Around that time, I had an article that was in progress from this writer that was working on an article in the New Yorker. So he's like, anything new? Like, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm working on this piece. And I was like, oh yeah. By the way, I'm gonna be in the New Yorker. It's gonna come up in like a few months. I don't know when. They didn't give me a date. And he was like, oh, the New Yorker? My ex-wife Diane works there. Like, she's an editor there. She's a copy editor. You should come meet her. And I was like, yeah, I would love to. So we met up for burgers and stuff. And me and Diane hit it off from then. Yeah, shout out to Diane.
Dude, she's great. And so she realized, she saw the situation that you're in. And she was like, I have a place. You can come stay for free.
Yeah, we had... Mark actually worked at FIT. It's funny. He was like, he teaches there. So we had burgers across the street from FIT after his job. And I met Diane and so we were just speaking and Diane was just asking me questions and I was just telling her about my life and stuff. And she was like, wow, like, why are you paying $400 to be with Mark? Just come stay with me for free. And I was like, oh, like, I mean, I don't know. Like we just met, and she was like, "No, like, just it could be like a residency. Like she's a writer. She's like, I'm an artist. You're an artist. It could be like a residency. Like, and we spoke about it, and we ended up deciding on doing it. And she supported me. I went to her home, and I was painting in her living room. She's an amazing cook. Her food is amazing. Like. I always felt bad that she would cook for me because I'm like, oh my God, now I feel like I'm an expense, you know, like you don't have to cook for me. She's like, no, I love, she loved my work. She supported it. She supported me.
So check back to the neighborhood now. So you are now, where's her place at?
Oh, in Park Slope.
So Park Slope, Brooklyn, which you're not from New York City.
Super different.
Far cry from Mount Haven, right? Far cry from South Bronx.
Yeah.
You go back to the block, and if you explain any of this to your like friends or kids on the block, what are they saying?
I was already like after art and design, I was already like separated from the kids on the block. I'm still cool. I still know them. Like I still see them on the corner. I still say what's up to everybody. You know, I don't act like I'm different. I'm still like I still walk around the block like nothing. But yeah, no, it's a whole different world. This is a whole different world. Super different.
Fine artist, right? Now Diane takes an interest in your work, right? So she gives you a safe place that's free to work and develop your craft, right? She's a fan. I met her. She truly is a fan and an awesome person. Operating at that level, right? So you meet some people, you're doing some commissions. When you meet Diane, you know, you're being exposed. You know, New Yorker's doing articles on you, right?
Yeah.
Very, like, I'd call it terrestrial marketing, right? Like land-born, earth-born. You're meeting people, you're going to parties, right? You're going to like kind of ritzy parties or kind of meeting you like, oh, Devon does this amazing work, right? Some fine artists start taking notice in you too. That's kind of the old way I would say that artists get recognized. You, however, are a product of your age.
Yeah.
And so you use social media.
Yeah.
Right? You start using social media. What was it like at first when you're kind of putting this stuff up there? Because most of your social media is like friends and family when you're kind of first starting this. I mean, you grew up with this. I didn't. So it's a little bit different. But I'm guessing if you were to ask Diane and other people too, they're probably not the biggest fans of social media and fine artists putting themselves out there on there. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Diane is amazing. She always I don't think she's like a huge fan of social media, but she would do things for me like the old school way and introduce me to her friends and stuff. On. Like I remember one of my first days living with her, she was like, "Yo, we got to get your prices up and we got to get your work to bigger people." She's like, "Have you ever?" She's like, "I have a friend, Jennifer Coolidge. She's gonna Diane's sitting right next to me." She texts Jennifer Coolidge. She says, "Hey Jennifer, this is my young friend Devon Rodriguez. He does these paintings," and she sends a link. And Jennifer responds right away. She goes, "Oh my God, that's incredible. Those are amazing. Oh my God, wow." And Diane tells him like, "Yeah, he's only 19, whatever." We speak to Jennifer and
for those who don't know, who's Jennifer Coolidge? Stifler's mom.
Yeah. Shout out to Jennifer Coolidge, one of the
Yeah.
most amazing people in the world.
Yeah.
Super great person, good person, super humble, amazing. I love her. So Jennifer ends up inviting us to go out to New Orleans, and we stood there for 5 days with her. We
What's that like? You're from the South Bronx.
It was amazing. I walked
had
into
this roller coaster house, and now you're going to New Orleans.
yeah,
kind of
she
upper echelons of society.
Yeah, she lives in this amazing mansion. I think that was my first time. Yeah, that was my first time ever seeing a mansion. Beautiful, super huge home. I meet her and she was super humble. She treats everyone the same. She's a good person. We ended up like a year ago or 2 years ago. I had this event where I did this painting for this basketball painting. And she was my +1 in LA, and there was an open bar, and all the people that helped, like the photographers and the bartenders, she would give them like super big tips. Like the drinks were free, and she'd give him like $50 a drink, and the photographer she'd give him like every time he took a picture of us, she's like giving him $50, and he's like, ma'am, like I'm getting paid very well for this. She's like, no, you're not getting paid enough. You guys work way too hard. Like she's just that kind of person. She's amazing. She always tipping like way more than she should, and treats everyone the same, and she's just amazing.
So what's that
side note?
So, but you're being basically brought around, right?
Yeah,
like you're meeting all these people, right? Now, that drive you have in you, that higher purpose, we'll call it, leads you to social media. You start putting your work online, right? And that's when I think about when we first met.
Yeah.
So you got, 20,000 followers, we'll call it, right?
Yeah.
And it's going higher, right? You're getting some press, right? Like it's working. You do this revolutionary interview with me, 2018.
Yeah.
But then TikTok's invented.
Yeah.
So what happened?
Okay, so
Break it down. How did Devon Rodriguez get on TikTok?
Okay, so 3 months ago, I'm speaking to that girl, Sophia Al-Jabori. We speak on Instagram all the time. She's in the UK. She says, she's on TikTok. She has a huge following on TikTok, 500,000. I'm like, whoa, that's insane. Like, I gotta get on because I'm, all artists want to be seen and we all want to succeed. So, I'm like, that's way more eyeballs on my stuff. That could put me higher. And then, like I said, so I was painting things. I learned how to edit. I painted I was painting portraits. The stuff that I was doing, I was putting up my commissions. Everything that I was doing on a daily basis. I was painting that anyway. All I had to do was put my phone on it. I bought this iPhone holder. I put my phone on it. I got this app. I learned how to edit them, and I sliced them together. So they were doing all right. They were doing 1,000 views, 2,000 views, 500 views, 100 views. It was all different. Max was like 3,000 views, 4,000, something like that. So I was on it for like a while, for like a month. Well, a month is a long time for TikTok. TikTok is a super fast pace. You go viral real fast. So I was on it for a month. Nothing was really happening for me. It was a slow growth, super slow. And then I knew during the pandemic I had to do the subway work, but those paintings take me so long, especially for my taste and my standards, to get every detail. I just would have never been able to get to it. So I was like, you know what? I'll do daily sketches. Like I'll do a small pencil sketch that'll be way faster, way faster than a painting. If I do a painting, the pandemic is probably going to be over by the time I finish like a big painting that I is up to my taste, and I had a bunch of other commissions going on. So I get on the subway, and I'm already on TikTok for like a month doing those paintings. And so I was like, I'll put this subway sketch on TikTok too, because I wanted to film everything that I was doing. Any art that I was doing, I'm gonna film it. So I randomly came up with this idea at like 2 a.m. how I'm gonna film it. I'm gonna record the person, then I'm gonna pan down to my sketchbook, then I'm gonna slice the sketch up, because I I did research on TikTok, on YouTube, and how to go viral and stuff, but this is work that I would have done anyways. So if you go back on my Instagram, scroll down to 2015, I have Subway sketches from back then. But anyway, I do want to learn how to go viral. So I'm learning how to go viral on YouTube, and you have to keep the video like kind of short to get the most amount of watch time, something like 13 to 22 seconds. Because the more you keep their eyes on the screen, the more you tell TikTok that this is great content, and the more it gets pushed harder and harder and harder. So none of my videos got pushed out of all of those painting videos. They were all right. So I did my first Subway sketch, drew the whole thing, had it done, ready, posted it. First one was 6 million views. Now, I never got anything close to 1 million. So I'm like, whoa, 6 million views. Like, that's nuts. Viral. I can't believe it. Next day, I do the same thing. Draw another person. Like 7 million views. I was like, whoa, this is insane. This is nuts. I did another one. Kept doing it. I was going to do a pandemic series. I'm still doing it. This was 2.5 months ago when I did my first one, and I had 10,000 followers when I first started, before the first sketch. Now I have 8 million followers, and that's how fast it went. And yeah, and just my videos just went viral all over the internet, everywhere, just everywhere. I can't even describe like what everywhere means. Just so many huge pages like Lad Bible, BuzzFeed. I saw it on Snapchat, like on the Snapchat stories.
What about Times Square? What about what happened at Times Square?
Yeah, so this, basically I had so many people reaching out to me after all those viral videos just kept spreading and spreading and spreading. This guy named Mauricio has this company called Latin Plug. He sponsored that Times Square billboard for a day. And
so what they don't know, and you're being modest about, is a kid from South Bronx was plastered all over Times Square, right? Massive billboard with a paint. What was it? The self?
Yeah, it was a self-portrait painting.
Self-portrait of you.
Yeah.
What's that feel like?
So before that, I had a month of it's still going.
I mean, I saw it on the little subway box. Not the subway boxes. What are those called?
Oh, the links?
NYC link.
Yeah.
Atrocious ATM looking thing that's all over the city.
Oh, yeah.
But then you see it on there. What's that like, man? From everything, from you finding your dad dead, the violence you saw in the household, right? Gompers, to art and design, to quitting FIT, to getting into tattoos for a bit, and now you're in Times Square. What's the immediate? If you had to pick a few, like one line, what does it feel like?
It's funny because the first word that comes to my head is like numb. Like,
yeah,
it's like seeing the things that happened around me as a kid. It's like those things are so like. I'm trying to think of a word. Like incredible, but in a negative way. Yeah. Those are so shocking in a negative way. It's just super shocking in things that you wouldn't think are possible. So there's no boundaries anymore. I'm numb to anything. Like
boundaries to the low or to the high.
Or to the high. Yeah. It's like anything is possible.
That numb just comes in when there's like a short circuit in the system, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. Like, like I'm very shocked about like what happened with getting to 1 million followers on Instagram and all that, but it's almost like I'm seeing my life through a lens that's not me. Like I'm not connected to myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Probably sounds insane, but
no, it doesn't.
You know what I mean? Like I'm watching my life as a movie, but it's
you don't feel like you're in the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Like I look at
it's outer body. What's going on.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the future with corporate interests, right? Corporations that want to join, like TikTok, right? You're a partner with TikTok.
Yeah.
Each of those life experiences that you went through, the ones that I would say make you numb, prepare you for dealing with situations like that, right?
Yeah.
So do you feel like, is that an advantage because of your life experience going into those business negotiations now?
Maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah?
Who knows?
Let me tell you this. So when you first started doing commissions for wealthy people and you started bringing paintings to their mansions, or not, New York City mansions, insane, ostentatious, multiple bedrooms in New York City, which is the highest rent in the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough to act not blown away, right? When you went in there?
Yeah.
Would you kind of front? Would you kind of front and act like it's not?
Well, yeah, kind of. Yeah, I mean, of course, I can't. I can't tell them like a certain price and then come in and then be shocked. They're like, "Oh, but we're paying you this. Like, why are you so shocked?"
Yeah, that's probably South Bronx to do though, right? That's that.
Yeah,
it's
maybe.
the street in you. It's a hustle.
Maybe
because you roll with it. You're not like, oh God, I would imagine. I'm going left field here. That the girl eating the apple sitting down has a far different experience in business than what you have.
Yeah, but I look at it as like a movie. Like, like you watch a movie and you see a talented artist, and you could imagine him being commissioned by a rich person, and then you could imagine him walking into a scene where like the house is huge and super, they're super wealthy and stuff. So it's like that's what I'm walking into. It's like this is just a scene in a movie.
See your life like you're the hero in the movie. Is that like some Joe Rogan shit? Be the hero in the movie of your life.
Yeah, well, I don't know about the hero. I'm just the character. Just one of the characters.
I want to do some notes here. All right? So we might have to backtrack a little bit. Okay? First thing I want to do a name association. Okay, a name association. So when I say this word,
people get caught up.
You're going to get fucked up. I already asked you if you knew some graffiti artists from the day, and you very politely walked away from it.
Skirt.
Left turn. You're sick if you're like Banksy. By the way, do you like my art?
No free ads. Yeah, love it.
It's a new studio.
I love this one.
Yeah, it's nice. That actual sums up the complete amount of my artistic talent. Yeah, that's my best work right there. That's it. And then Daryl Strawberry. All right. First, we're going to start with name recognition. I'm going to say a name in your past. And I want to hear what you want to say about it.
Oh, my God.
James Harrington.
Genius. I have to come up with one word?
No.
Talk about him. Okay. This is another thing I want to speak about. You just reminded me of something. You know how I said, like, when I grew up, I always felt like I was meant for a higher purpose? And I always felt like, I never spoke about this except for one kid in, like, 4th grade. And we both, like, connected on it. He goes, he was like one of my best friends. He goes, yo, I always felt like I was like the chosen one. And I was like, oh my God, me too. Cause I always felt like that. And I never told anyone cause I probably knew at the time that sounds insane. But I always felt like, and I know that sounds so grandiose and narcissistic. That's why I wouldn't even tell anyone that. But as a kid, I don't feel like that now. I feel like I got a bunch of luck. I got very lucky. But as a kid, I felt like I'm the chosen one, even though there's nothing signifying that. If anything, there's nothing signifying that. Like the way we lived in a bathroom that we shared. Before, I'm not sure if it was before or after. After that home that I told you about that we lived amongst the other families, we moved right next door where we lived in a room. And that room was private. It was just a room. It was like a studio. It was tiny, but it was 5 of us in there. But we shared the bathroom with the building, like a dorm, In that bathroom, people would just come in, like drug addicts would come in to the building, like people that didn't even live there. So in that bathroom, it was like a standing stall. And we had to wear slippers to take a shower there because my mom always made us because she's like, you're going to catch fungus if you don't wear slippers. So in that bathroom, you would see heroin needles and condoms. And whenever we saw that, we would just tell our mom, like, Mom, there's a needle, like, take it out. And then she'd take it out. So, yeah, what kind of kid thinks he's the chosen one after that? Like, that's what's going on. So, I don't know if it was, like, cartoons that I watched or, like, stuff that I watched. But that's what I thought about myself. So, anyway, so going to Gompers, Jeremy Harper, that teacher, showed me his sketch. He was already super inspirational to me, like seeing how...
Jeremy Harper.
Yeah. Okay. Seeing how well he drew. He was already a huge inspiration, like life-changing. And like I knew he could help me get out of that school, helping me like because he got accepted into SVA. He knows what an art portfolio, how it looks like. If he approves, I'm already approved because he's like, he knows. So we did our whole portfolio, whatever. He showed me his sketches and his sketchbook back when he was in SVA. He was like, this is me as a college student. And he had a bunch of Subway sketches. That's what inspired me to do the Subway sketches. And as a kid from the Bronx at the time, I was like, you don't ask for permission? Like, he's like, I'm like, that's kind of creepy. And he was like, nah, I mean, not just drawing, this is practice. The best way to practice is drawing from life. So I was like, oh, all right, dope. Like, he's, in my head, he's incredible. He's still incredible, but he's super successful. Like, he's at the top. He went to SVA. Keith Haring went to SVA. He's up in line with them. So, like, I'm going to do that. So, I did the Subway sketches because of him. I was inspired by him. And then when I go to my next school, Art and Design High School, I meet James Harrington, and his thing was Subway paintings. It's not that common, to like Subway work. It's not that. That's why like I've become kind of known for it because it's not too common. So that's a super huge coincidence to meet Jeremy. Jeremy Harper does Subway sketches. Then next school, James Harrington is doing Subway paintings. So I do Subway paintings because James Harrington inspires me to do that. But at the same time, I was always inspired to draw people around me, like those gangster figures that I used to draw with the cap to the back and the bandana. So it's just funny seeing that line from like being a kid and thinking like this was written out for me, and then meeting Jeremy Harper, doing the Subway sketches, doing the Subway paintings, going back to the Subway sketches because of Harper that happened in Gompers. And now I'm super viral from the Subway sketches. But I was inspired by somebody else. I'm giving credit to Jeremy Harper and James Harrington. I was inspired. It was like it was given to me. It was like it feels like it was written for me, Like I still put in the talent and the technique and the drive and all that. But isn't that funny that was like given to me and all of a sudden it's like viral?
It's also too, it's the higher purpose thought before. Again, not religious, but it's interesting that with higher purpose comes self-alignment, that you just happen to bump into these people that happen to also take interest in the Subways. You're talking different times between Harrington, right? That's when was he doing his Subway drawings? So if you put a year on it.
When was he doing
when was he doing his Subway work?
The whole time, like
yeah, but earlier than you were, obviously, because he's older. Yeah. So just generationally, what?
Since the 80s.
Was COVID the genesis? You always had done this stuff before, but what was it? What made it just the critical mass? How about that? That hit, and then it went viral. Was it something about the masks? About everyone being stuck inside, being on their phone? What is it?
There's a certain thing, there's a certain content that the TikTok algorithm likes, and it's there's a lot of luck involved. Like I was doing these paintings that I thought were good, and none of them went viral really, but these Subway sketches did. I think it's a mix of like New York City. That is a question that I think about. If these people weren't wearing the mask and we weren't going through a pandemic, would have they gone viral? But I think they still would have on TikTok. But I think all the news stations that picked me up, those happened because of my idea of documenting the pandemic. But yeah, I think that I just got I was in the right place at the right time, Yeah, that's what happened. Like I'm still in the beginning of TikTok. Has been around for like a year or two, maybe 2 years. I'm still in the beginning of it, where it's easier to go viral, and I got very, very lucky. There's so much luck involved. There's so much talent out there that do not go viral, and there's a lot of luck.
It's so easy. Me being a comedian, you being an artist. It's so easy to be older as I am than you, to just discourage and be like, TikTok's for like kids and dancing, right? And we have conversations about this pretty regularly, right? Where I basically What's my advice to you? Don't listen to anyone that's older than you when it comes to social media. What is it about TikTok that excites you in a non-whack way? I'm being honest.
So let me change my answer.
No, yeah. Don't give me that shit. Because there's a genuine excitement about it for you, different than what I see from, let's say, I'm a comedian, so comedians like my contemporaries, right? You're the first one I've seen doing original shit on there. That you know, and again, that's what I think is resonating with the people. Why you're so popular, and they're stuck inside and they're forced to look at your shit. But
yeah. So
what is it? What about it excites you? Because you get excited when you talk about it. I'm so glad you didn't wear a TikTok hoodie here, by the way.
I have to rep them. I love TikTok. I should have worn it. Yeah. I love TikTok. No, TikTok is so exciting. It's like super fresh. It's like they got the finger on the pulse. Like that's they're at the pinnacle of social media. That's the app to be on. You know, if you want to be famous
or get your message across,
yeah. If you want to have a bunch of people, like I'm not saying that I went on to be famous, but if you want to be famous or if you want to have your stuff shown to millions of people, TikTok is the way to go. And like now I have literally millions of people, which is insane to even say because I don't really believe it in my head, but you know, because it happens so fast that it just doesn't seem real. But I literally have millions of people watching me, and that whole story that I told you about my childhood and me still becoming whatever, all those kids that follow me now, because TikTok does have like a very like young crowd, and I also on Instagram, like I have a lot of kids that write to me and tell me that I inspire them, and they were gonna quit drawing and they keep drawing because of me, and that like they went out and bought art supplies and started drawing because of me, because it was always in the back of their mind. You know, like that excites me that they tell me that, and then I don't know where they come from, but a lot of them don't come from my background. So
yeah.
Them hearing that and then seeing that you could still somehow make it inspires them, and that's super exciting. Like
what's interesting to me about TikTok and you is this. Your first interest in art was graffiti. And the purpose of graffiti is what? Everyone sees your runs, right? You paint trains so more people can see them, right? So you paint a train in New York City, or you paint a heavens, they call it in LA, right? Like the billboards on top, right?
Yeah.
Every single commuter sees your shit. Every day they see what you blast, how you write, how your hand style's coming along. TikTok is the new version of graffiti. Because now digital. Your art is digital graffiti. It is bombarding eyes and ears.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, is that a safe assumption to make about you? That the excitement that you talk about TikTok reminds me of my friends that are older, that are old graffiti heads from LA.
Yeah, I mean, every artist wants their work to be seen. There's a lot of passion in it, but there's also like, you know, everybody wants to succeed and like have their work in galleries. But, you know, this is like the new, I think where the direction that my work is going into is like, it's like kind of new. Like all the work that I sell, all the work that people buy, you know, come from social media. So it's not you know, most of it doesn't come from a gallery, you know, but I still make a living from social media. So I don't even know if I'm answering your question, but yeah, I just want to continue doing what I'm doing, and to do what I love. I like need to get paid. So if I have a lot of people seeing my work, the chances of all those people wanting to buy something goes higher, so I could just continue doing what I love, you know?
You go hard, though. Particularly in the pandemic. You go real hard. You know, and this is a compliment. Yeah. Because that's another, that excitement is, though, in terms of the amount of posting you're doing. And, like, we always give a shit, like, I'm in my 30s.
You think I post too much?
No, I don't. I think you are answering the demand for your supply.
Yeah.
But I see you putting in a lot of work. It's interesting because I'm going to put you in charge of, I never thought, I'm on record on interviews saying I'm not going to do TikTok, but I'm going to do TikTok. I'm going to put you in charge of, because I mean, dude, you're putting working. I mean, we're talking, it's not just like, this is what I painted today. When you see Devon's art, which most of you have, and more will see, you are filming, like, you're also a film director. Because you're casting, you're harassing interns. No, I'm just kidding. You're filming your work. You're filming. You're out there trying the reactions ones.
Yeah.
You're out there. You're working on this, and it's not almost. I'm watching an artist leave one medium and go to another, because it's not just like, this is your art, or that this is your art, right? I like that piecing, right? These ones, those are my favorite Devons. No, but it's not just, here's my art. This is my art. This is how I make it. This is how it's received.
Yeah.
You can smell it. It's four dimension. I mean, imagine if Picasso had that back in the day, right?
Yeah.
You gotta, not to mention the patience.
Yeah, it takes a lot of patience, a lot.
I think that's what it comes from, that higher purpose sense, though, because you do have that, I think all that stuff that you went through before, I could talk shit all day about influencers or, Instagram famous. Man, people work their fucking asses off, right?
Yeah,
and
do.
You're getting what you deserve because you're working super hard, and I'm seeing it. I text you all the time. I'm like, damn, another one. You're like DJ Khaled over here. Another one. No. But you went through a phase of a year ago of doing tattoos.
Oh, yeah.
You got into tattooing. And I would always make the argument when we talk. I would say, tattoo is its own art. Right?
Yeah.
But you can spend a lifetime and not master it, as your dad did, right? Mastered it. Is that a watered down version of your fine art? And if it is, why is TikTok different?
Okay. So, side note, I was thinking, I sometimes I think about this, and I know so many talented people, and sometimes I'll have this guilt, like I've reached 1 million followers on Instagram. Like, that's insane. Like, I know so many talented people, I'm going to be honest. I know so many talented people, and they don't get that. So this is like a glitch, or it's very, very lucky. There's so much luck into it. And
luck has to be met with preparation.
No, everyone, to me, hard work and preparation and putting in the hours, to me, like, that's like a given. And also, I want to get into like high school and like all the self-help books that I used to read, but all that was like a given to me. Like reading Malcolm Gladwell and the 10,000 hours, you could do that and still not succeed. So that has to be met on its own, and then you got to find something else. But anyway, so the tattooing thing, it's funny because my dad always wanted me to be a tattooer. He always told me, like, you're gonna be a tattooer, and that's what I want you to be. So he was teaching me when I was there in his home, and I just let go of it. I just kind of stopped. And then when I went to get this sleeve by Chris Garver, I don't know if you've ever seen Miami Ink. He was like the star of the show. He's one of my dad's friends. They used to work together in Miami. Super incredible tattoo artist. Shout out to Chris Garver, and one of the best Japanese tattoo artists in the world. He started doing this. I got the sleeve from him. As he was doing it, he told me, like, why don't you ever get into tattooing? Like, your dad would be super proud, and I think you would be great at it. And I was like, Chris Garver's telling me that? So he's like, yeah, you would be good at doing portraits. And I was like, all right, you think so? And he's like, yeah, try it out and show me some. Show me 5 portraits. And I was like, all right. So I just went out and did them. I was just focused on that for those months. It was like 3-4 month period where I didn't paint, I didn't draw. I went out, bought a tattoo machine. I would watch what he was doing on my arm, and I knew how to set up from like my dad and stuff, and I'll just watch, and I would think, like, I'll watch him tattoo me, and I'll think, like, oh, that's kind of like drawing. Like, I can see how this from painting or this from drawing translates to tattooing, or like all the I would watch him do the drops, which was so fascinating to me because it relates to drawing. So, like, say he has 5 ink caps. One was like all black. One was like a certain amount of black and the rest was filled with water. As he goes, it was a gradation all the way to like one drop of black with all water. So that's like the lightest tone. So I'm like, oh, I can see how you build up a portrait doing that. So yeah, it was just a little phase of tattooing friends and stuff. And
I think that's important for artists, though, is you went down avenues and you explored it.
Yeah.
And that's going to add to your, let's call a body of work, right?
Yeah,
I mean, a body of work is weird because let's say if you're like an actor, you have a body of work. It's like, I've been in these movies. Art's different because you go through some phases, which, all artists do, where you're like, don't look at that. Like maybe after I'm dead, go back there. But you're always working on this craft. Now you take TikTok and you take the Subway project that you've been working on. It's an acceleration of that process because you have, I would argue, one TikTok post is getting as many views as Picasso had in his lifetime. Is that? Am I shit talking? I might be shit talking.
I have no idea.
I mean, a lot of great artists die broke. Most do from the last era. I feel. Damn, that's a good question. I wish I was good at math. I wonder. But what's an average video? Like how many views are you getting on TikTok?
It depends. Sometimes the algorithm likes to act up. It's different. So
you're talking shit against your TikTok?
No. I love them. No, everyone knows that. It's just some days are more lucky. My biggest one is 79 million views.
79 million views of your art.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm a double stamp that. I think that's more. That's definitely more than major artists in their lifetimes people had ever seen. Not that matters, but it's definitely interesting. It's a phenomenon.
Yeah, it's nuts.
What do you see for the future?
I don't know, but I feel like it put me at this point where I'm more free to decide. Like I have more freedom to like pursue any art project that I want. I feel like, like I could go in any direction, and the people that remember this podcast, remember the work that I did, and remember like all the kids that I try to inspire, I feel like they're going to still support me throughout other art projects that I pursue. Hopefully, I mean, who knows, but I just feel like that. Like I've reached so many people. It's nuts. And they're all supporting me, and they're all treating me so nice, and they all tell me they love me and stuff. And I'm happy for it.
When you pull up to start an art project, are you thinking about that kid that witnessed so much violence in their house when they're younger? Like, yeah, no. If you could be an outlet for that?
For sure. Before coming into this interview, I spoke to one of my cousins and I spoke to my brother, and I was telling them like, yo, should I be open with how I grew up? Because they know how I grew up. My brother was there, so I'm like, yo, should I be open about mommy? And like, I mean, I want to be because of all those kids. Like, out of all those followers, I'm sure there's kids that are getting abused like right now, like, and they probably think like life is over for them. That's what I thought. Like, damn, when am I gonna get out of this? For some reason, I thought I was, but I'm like, when is it gonna happen? Like, this shit is torture.
What would you tell them specifically?
I would tell them that things change. Like, I would have, how you go through like day after day after day after day, and like, like I'm very familiar with my life, and it's not gonna change. I know how like habits get broken, and like they're not being broken, and like I don't see an end.
Now break that down. Expand on that. How do habits end?
By
breaking them.
Yeah, by breaking them, and I don't know. I felt like I was in my grandma's house. I was doing all these paintings, and people thought that I'm talking about like 3-4 months ago. People thought that I was already super great, but I didn't. For my standards, I didn't feel like I was. And I don't want to sound cocky, but these are the words that come to my head. I didn't feel like I was getting what I deserved, and that sounds terrible because I was already like in the New York Times at a very young age, but I still felt like I should. I don't know. I just felt like I wanted to grow more and a little bit faster. So. and I didn't think it was gonna happen anytime soon. I just thought I was gonna grow at the rate I was growing, and it was going good. It was, you knew me, it was going good, but I wanted it to be like this. I mean, not like this. This fucking blew up to like a whole other 100 times, 1,000 times more than I imagined. Like, I would have never thought that would happen. So I'm good. Like, I'm good. I'm set. But what was the question? I forgot what the question was.
You had talked about your habits.
Oh, yeah. So
and you had seen. So I was asking.
Oh yeah. So for the kid that
What are you telling the kid? What are you telling the kid? Like a little Devon.
Yeah, like he thinks that day by day life is gonna stay the same, but no, it changes. It gets better somehow, magically. And
you think it's magic, or you think it's hard work?
I think there's a lot of magic. Like I always mention all the luck. I think there's a lot of magic.
Well, what about when you were like, I don't want to do the street shit. Street shit wasn't for you, or when you
that was magic. I didn't. That was put into me. Growing up, I saw, because there's kids that see that, and that's all they know, because that's all I know. That's all they know, and it's like, all right, that's how I behave. That's all I know. That my mom is doing this. I do that. My uncle, my dad is doing this.
It's a vicious cycle.
That's what I do. Yeah. So, but I had this like magic in me that told me that's what my mom does. I'm doing the opposite. That's not what makes you like. I don't take ownership. I don't take credit for a 5-year-old thinking like that. It's like that was there. How could I, like, I'm 5. I don't know what I'm doing. That was, those thoughts were there.
You obviously can't bring everybody out. It's a classic street story.
Yeah.
Do you have a list of people that you want to get out? Starting with Grandma, Abuela.
Oh, yeah.
She's
at the top of the list. Yeah.
For sure. And she packs your t-shirts that you sell.
Yeah.
Fucking
She's amazing.
Kids selling merch having Abuela pack that stuff. God damn.
That's, well, I hired her. She gets paid.
Good.
For sure.
Bless her heart.
Definitely.
She looks amazing.
Well, she wants to do it. It's funny because she also inspires me because the amount of work she puts in. Oh my God. So my grandma is a immigrant from Honduras. She came here in the 80s or the 70s. One of those. Yeah, the 70s. And she loves jobs. This is what she told me. She told me that her favorite job was this job that she got where she had to connect all these pens. Like it was like 3 parts. She'll put the top part, middle part, bottom part, and like twist it together, put it to the side, and put all these pens together all day. Same mundane task. She said that's her favorite kind of work because she doesn't have to think, and she just does it. And she could do that for hours and hours and hours. And I was like, wow, you enjoy that? She's like, yes, I love it. She like, I think her first job she told me when she came to the States was ironing clothes. She loved that. She irons a shirt, puts it to the side. So with the merch, every time I offer to pay her, she's always like, no, you don't have to pay me. Like, and of course I'm gonna pay her. I owe her my life. I owe her everything. She saved my life. There's a few people that saved my life. She's like one of the big ones. So she's always like asking me like, more merch, like, like, cause she's retired. She's like bored. She's like
Abuela Supreme, man.
She's bored. She's like, I want to fold merch. Like, where's the merch? Like, I'm like, this date. But yeah, she loves it. And yeah, she gets paid and always tries to not get paid. But of course she's getting paid.
What's that like? Because there's a lot of kids in the house still.
Yeah.
And we talk about this too. And we can edit this out however you want to do this. But we talk about this too. I as the white man, I always tell you, stack the money. I think over the years I've seen you going with the art school girl. You've been down the rabbit hole of LES, Devon. I'm in the LES. I've got a nice little art school, but you're at home and you're protecting the bag.
Yeah.
Because that's what security is.
Yeah.
Well, what's it like for the survivor's guilt of that? Because let's say not your best friend is too close. Let's say other people, like 1 million followers, right? How many people do you get like, yo, put me on? Put me on.
It's you know what's funny? I thought, because I'm still the same person. I'm still the same kid. So when you hear those stories of like those rappers or like people that came up, like, yeah, once I came up, people came out the woodworks. I thought that was a cliche. I really thought it was a cliche, like, because people and like, how people are, and they're like, yeah, I'm not gonna just like act like that because he just got a million. But there's actually kids from I don't want to be too specific with them just in case they hear this, but like people that hit me up like, yo, share this, post this on your story. Can you please put me? I'm like, oh my God. I do think about like how things are meant to happen. Like it's not fair that like I got lucky and somebody else didn't, but I'm not guilty about it. I'm just interested in like, how does life work like that? But what I am guilty about is like DMs. Like I get so many DMs now, and I used to take pride on responding to everybody back before all these. I used to take pride on that.
And that is.
I was trying as I was going up, the followers were going up. I was still trying, but then it got to a point where I can't, and it's so overwhelming how many messages I get.
Yeah,
it's overwhelming. It's so overwhelming. I can't get to everyone, and it's like a guilt when people. Could you imagine somebody writing to you, telling them telling you you're my idol, I love you, and you get a bunch of those, and you want to respond to everyone, but that would take your whole day. Like, that's a guilt that I have.
What about the other side of that? Because you crossed over, and now people want something from you. Not everybody. Certain people are like, hey, want to go sketch together? And, I might throw it up on my Instagram story.
Another thing.
You're a product. We're using you for you're a piece of meat in that aspect. Gotta guard yourself on that.
Another thing where like I have to guard myself is a lot of people don't realize, and I don't blame them too much, because I guess if it happens so much, then it must be like, it's not their fault, it's just a coincidence. But a lot of people don't respect art as like a job, and they think it's a hobby.
Yeah.
So like when I was growing the following and I was responding to everyone, they would say like,
sup?
No.
Afterwards.
No, they
like, so what are you up to today? Sorry, continue.
No, they would say like, oh, like you're my inspiration, and I would say thank you so much. That means a lot to me. Like, thank you. Because I would try to respond to so many people, but then a lot of follow-up answers, like now that I got him here, would be,
totally,
can you draw me for free? and like, I don't. It's fine. Like I love you all, but it's like,
wait, full stop. Has anyone ever asked you, Leonardo DiCaprio, Titanic style, to paint you like their French girls?
Yeah. Well, the new one is draw me like one of your Subway girls. So I might put that on a shirt, like for merch. But I don't know if I'm not that big, so it might not happen. But so that kind of like killed the guilt a little bit, because I might get caught with that, like, oh, draw me for free, and then I gotta say like, which is the truth. Like I'm like overbooked. I have too much going on, but.
It's also a very weird thing.
Yeah.
To be like, hey, that thing you do really well that millions of people watch? Focus it on me, buddy. And make sure you do.
Yeah, but I don't think they think like that. Like it's because they know that I'm having fun doing it. So it's like, oh, just include me. So I don't want to offend.
That's so cute how in your 20s you are. Yeah, you're just so naive about that. Like,
I don't want to offend any, like, no, because there's kids that ask that, and they're really very innocently.
Kids are different. I'm talking about grifters, like legit operators.
No, yeah. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about like the TikTokers, like the kids, like they mean they're like innocent. So I don't want them to like hear this and think that I'm like trashing them. I love them, but
yeah. Hey, little kids on TikTok, DM Devon and ask him to paint you.
Some of them literally, not the kids. I don't know how old they are, but some of the DMs literally say for free. But it's okay.
They want to be. I know they don't know.
Yeah.
You ever say dumb shit to celebrities when you're younger?
I mean, I didn't really. What you mean, like DM
You ever
them?
reach out? I mean, with your skill in Facebook and MySpace investigative work, I'm sure you terrorized quite a few people.
No, not really.
What about you ever say dumb shit to idols or like mentors?
No. Like what? Like what kind of stuff?
I mean, you're like an artist that takes interest. You're like in a gallery or someone that like you're interested. You ever say dumb shit? I do.
Yeah,
Honestly.
no, like what? Give me an example. I don't think I
Man,
do.
This is like I have said shit that goes through my teeth, and I'm like, what are you saying? And I mean, I talk for a living. I'm pretty all right at this instrument called a mouth. But dude, you ever get caught? You just say dumb shit. You never had that happen to you before?
I don't think so.
Man, there's two answers to that. Either one, you're very, very good and you're articulate and you're very careful how you speak, or two, you're oblivious to it and you say that shit all the time.
I think with like anyone that's a celebrity, I'm extra careful with what I say.
Oh, yeah. I think celebrity is different than mentor, is what I'm talking. What about? Will you always be in New York?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Who
What
knows?
is it about New York
Who
City?
knows? I didn't think any of that stuff would happen, but who knows what is gonna happen? I mean, if you would have told me that all this stuff would happen, I would have never believed it. It's funny that all that stuff, as we lay it out, it sounds like, whoa, big changes, that happened, this happened, but it just is all like kind of gradual, like it just all happened, you know?
Yeah.
Like the tattooing, the FIT, the dad, the TikTok, it just all happened.
Let's go back to name recognition. I want to revisit this because we did this in 2018. I'm curious on the answers. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Don't feel like you have media training now. You're pretty good on the spiel.
I got better? Since 2018?
You've always been great at this, but like,
think so?
You're better at avoiding the question.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you're like, oh, another thing. Like you do a politician thing.
Oh, I do? Oh.
Like you ain't talking shit to
It's because I've been
mentors.
watching other interviews like Joe Rogan and stuff, and
Yeah, he's fucking.
how they do it. No, I don't know. I'm just
All right, ready for your name recognition? Ready for the next one?
Yeah.
John Ahern.
what do I think of him?
Let's start over. Name recognition.
Name recognition.
Tell me what you think of this. 2018 we did these names when they came up. I want to revisit these names. There's people that are important in your life. I'm not going to say celebrity X, right? I'm going to say a person like John Ahern.
Yeah. I mean, he's someone that I think. Remember how you mentioned when I said portrait drawing was like I loved it, and you said like is art a blood sport? Mm-hmm. That's what it was to me at the time, but he's someone that taught me that art is like bigger than that. Art is not about technique at all. What he does is life casting, and back in my 13, 14-year-old days, like I was like a hustler. Like when I would go to the Art Students League, some people would paint, some people would draw, some people would sculpt. When they sculpted from life, it was all clay, a ball of clay, literally pressing and like making it into like something super realistic, like a realistic face. And I thought like, that's high level because of the technique. But he taught me like, it's not about the technique, it's about the concept of the art. So he does life casting. Once you put a mold on someone's head, it comes out as a plaster cast perfectly, all of your features. Now, someone who looks at art as like a sport would say like, oh, that's not valid because you didn't work hard for it. You didn't work. He does work hard, but he didn't work hard as the person sculpting it, and how many hours it takes to sculpt it versus life casting. Sculpting it by hand takes way longer. But there's still a spirit in his art that's beyond the technique, and like the concept of him capturing the lives of South Bronx residents and everything that comes with that, and like the stories in those people. So yeah, he teaches me to look at art beyond technique. That's like a big lesson that I learned from him, and like being open-minded to all kinds of art, like he's in the he's incredible. He's in all kinds of big collections. Like he's in the Met, the Broad. When I went to LA, I went to look at his sculpture in the Broad Museum, and around he's in a room. His sculpture is in the middle of a room, and then you have Basquiat and Keith Haring paintings all around it, and they own that for life. Like, he's in there for life. He's solidified in art history, literally.
What's it like for someone like that with that history and those credentials to take interest in you? Because at the time, you're probably too young to really appreciate it. But looking back now with some success yourself. That's pretty similar to a kid messaging you on TikTok and being like, not pay me for free, but check out my art.
Well, I didn't tell him that. He saw my art at a gallery, and then he walked up. We were at an opening, and he walked up to me.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sorry. Yeah, I was an intern at this Bronx Art Space gallery, and he came to a show that I had. The director, her name is Linda. She has a mailing list of all her friends and stuff, and she said, "Oh, we're having a show with these high school kids." And I was in the show. John Ahern came. He saw a subway painting that I did when I was like 17 years old, and he came up to me. He goes, "This piece," he said, "This is a masterpiece," and they told me you painted it, like, and you're from this neighborhood, because they told him like he's from this block. And yeah, he's someone that his work is focused around the South Bronx. And he thought the painting was a masterpiece, so he told me to come by his studio, and that was 6 years ago, and we're actually doing a talk together at the Smithsonian National Portrait Gallery in a month. Well, it was supposed to be in person, but it got canceled, so now it's going to be over Zoom. But it's about like our relationship and how we both he had his artwork of mine presented at the Smithsonian, and then now I have my painting of him at the Smithsonian.
A kid from South Bronx was now presenting at the Smithsonian.
Yeah.
What's more to you?
I already know what you're gonna ask. I already know what you're gonna ask. You're gonna ask me like, what's like more prestigious, or like what's better, TikTok or Smithsonian?
Ladies and gentlemen, he was 100% right.
How did I know?
What is? It's different, because it's like, I listen to like big hip hop fan. I like all music except for pop country, right? All music. But there's certain stuff that comes out now where I'm not supposed to like it. I'm in my 30s, like, you know, so I can't, as much as I want to be like, you idiot, digital's not real. It's ether.
Yeah.
Smithsonian is, you know. I'm learning the older I get, the less I know.
I wanna be in it all.
I'm starting to lean that way. I think it's more eyes is better on your shit. It's all different.
Yeah, you know, they have parallels with that in other worlds where like do I stay stuck? Not stuck, but do I
stay in a lane?
Do I stay in a lane where it's tried and true, where you have certain people behind you and they push you, and you're like signed to like a certain kind of thing, and or should I go out independent?
Yeah, like a 360 deal versus being independent.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I'm kind of like, you know, like got my feet kind of in like different directions, but
because that's what I mean. I think an artist in their highest aspiration is curious. That's it. And if you chase that curiosity down, but the difference comes is that now that curiosity is monetized.
Yeah, I mean, people might perceive me. There's certain people that perceive a TikToker in a certain way, and perceive somebody that's in the Smithsonian in a certain way. But I kind of, where I'm from, like, I'm blessed to have either of those, and I'm blessed to continue to do what I do and do what I love, and just do what I love for a living, you know? That's a huge blessing. So to care about how people perceive me is like, I don't care, you know? Like, I just want to do what I love.
It's a genuine don't care.
Yeah.
It's just rare nowadays.
Yeah.
It's like a don't care, but if you hang out with Devon in the future, he will be not caring, staring at a cell phone the entire time. That's just what kids do nowadays.
Yeah, like, who's to say? I'm the same person that did the painting that went to the Smithsonian, and I'm the same person that did the drawing that went to TikTok. I got the same mind and the same history, same everything.
But you've grown as a person. You have to.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
That's called getting old. I mean, of course. Yeah, of course you have. Because an example is out of your own mouth. Like, you used to try to respond to every single DM, paint me like your French girls, Jack, that style. But now you've kind of gone past that because it's physically not possible. Back to name recognition. No, I don't want to talk about that. I'm going to say a couple words, and I want you to tell me the first thing that comes into mind. Okay?
Yeah. This is where people get in trouble.
Paper towels.
Oh my god! First thing I think of is blood, but I don't even. It sounds so dark. Like, oh my god!
Man, let's hear it.
You want to hear the paper towel story?
Yes.
All right. This might be too dark for my TikTok friends.
Listen,
All right. This we gotta keep it real. All right. So
keep it buck.
So I was during my first visit to my dad's house. He would tell me like tattoo shop stories, life stories, just the tattoo shop environment and how things went and stuff like that. So, he always told me that he hated how people would just grab his paper towels and just like unravel it and like just take a bunch without even realizing that that's one of his expenses. Like you gotta buy your inks, buy your paper towels, buy this, buy that, buy your gloves, and people just. He said that people felt so entitled to his paper towels and just would take it because, you know, that's something they're familiar with like paper towels at home and, you know, they don't think of it. So, but they would waste his paper towels and he needs them to tattoo with. So he just told me that he hated that. So like a week later, he started to like vomit blood again. And he was in so much pain that he was just like, he hated the hospital. So for him to say like, take me to the hospital was like, we knew like we got to take him. So we took him to the hospital. He was there for about 4 days. And then he ended up calling us, me and my sister. And he was like, hey, come get me. I'm tired of these people. They want to keep me for longer. And I've already been here for 4 days. Come get me right now. Like, I hate this place. So he was like yelling. And so we drove to him, went to his room. So he had like, on his arm, he had like a tape with like the IV needle in his arm, and it was like taped on and like a wire connected to somewhere. And so he was like, yo, get me a scissors. I don't know. My sister found a scissors somewhere and he cuts it, right? Yeah, he just cuts it. I don't know what was like in that tube. I don't remember, but I remember he cut it and it was just connected to him, but the needle was still inside. The tape was still on. So we literally sneak out. He was like, we got to sneak out. We got to get out of here. So he didn't tell us this. He was in his last stage of cirrhosis. Mm-hmm. When you're in your last stage of cirrhosis, I did research like after, you know, you have a certain amount of time to live. Yeah. Like it's like, you know, you're going to die soon. He didn't tell us that. And I'm not sure why he didn't tell us that, but maybe he wanted to spend his last days at home. Because he did die like 2 days later. But so he comes home and he's like, it's funny because I told this story so like easily 2 years ago, but now I'm like, this story is kind of dark. Like,
go on.
Story's good. Go on. You're like a therapist. Continue. Yeah, the story's so negative. All right, so
it's not negative. It's part of who you are as a person now.
Yeah, but people don't want to hear this.
Let me be the judge of that.
All right, so we get home and he's like, yeah, fuck these people. Like, I hate them. They did this and that to me. Like, they didn't treat me right. They didn't feed me right. They didn't do this. He's just complaining. He's like pushing stuff around, kicking stuff. He's just angry. And he goes, and this stupid fucking needle thing. And he rips off the tape and yanks it out. And when he does that, blood squirts out like a water gun. Like, I've never seen blood squirt like this. Like you could see the dots on the floor, like just of red. Like it's just squirting, like literally squirting. Like I've never seen anything like it. I couldn't believe it. So I panic. I'm like, oh my God. Like, so I grab the paper towels and I unravel it like really fast so that I could build like a big amount of paper towels so I could have a lot to put pressure on his arm. So as I'm unraveling it, he's like, you fucking idiot. Like, why are you... I told you that I effing hate that when people unravel my paper towels. How dare you? And it's still squirting. And I'm like, yo, but I'm trying to help you, like, and he's yelling at the top of his lungs. I'm like, but I'm trying to put pressure. So I rip it out, and he's like, give me that shit. And he takes it, and he just puts the pressure himself. And he was just so angry that I did that. Like, and those people, who cares about the paper towels? Like, you're losing blood. Like,
but it's also, too, I mean, it's all about control, right? Like, you know, in that late stage of life, he's been told he's going to die a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
You're grasping for straws, man. Like, maybe that's the one thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of reassuring. As an outsider listening, so he's still a prick about paper towels.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
objectively hilarious.
So stuff like that, like, when people hear about that, like, they think, like, how did I get through that? People are, there's just certain kinds of people that are a certain kind of way, and I mean, it's tragic, but I don't put that against myself, you know? Like, I don't hold myself accountable for that. Like, I don't blame myself for that you know?
But why would you?
Not that I would blame myself, but like, but, I mean, a kid would be really hurt by his dad doing that. It's just like, I see it like, oh, this is just a different kind of person.
Yeah, and also, too, I think, you know, your dad wasn't in New York when you were growing up, and you met him later, but you, I mean, do you ever think about it this way? Your young life was training to meet your dad before he passed?
One thing I am glad about with going through all that trauma is like, if I go through any future trauma, or if I ever come with like a tough road, or like I have like a tough circumstance, I'm not too like afraid or too affected by something, because it's happened. I've lived through it, and I've lived like in a, you know, like if I see something tragic happen, like I could handle it more and have less nerves that are gonna affect me, you know. So, but I think what also comes with that is, if you can't let like something hurt you, you almost like can't accept the good things, you know what I mean?
Totally. I mean,
like, you almost can't like accept, like,
yeah, the good's not as good without the bad.
Yeah.
And also, too, isn't like great art about like a manifestation of being affected? Like, it's your experience.
Yeah.
Isn't it weird, though, that on both the positive and the negative side, the numb comes up?
Yeah.
Times Square, numb.
Yeah.
Dad, paper towels, numb.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. Like, you almost can't accept the great stuff with like the terrible stuff, because it's like, I don't know what it is.
Well, it's accepting is an interesting term.
Yeah.
Because accept or deny, it's still happening, right?
Yeah. For the most part, I came out like unscathed, but except for like.
Yeah, I bet you're a piece of shit boyfriend.
No,
I feel like you're so bad at listening.
No, I think honestly, I think I'm a great boy. Not to toot my own horn, but I think I'm a very nice, understanding guy.
Yeah. This next question is about your artist statement on your old website. I want to make sure I read it perfectly. What does, this is the quote, investigation of the underground world?
Yeah, just like going through the subway and just watching people, and I kind of switched up how.
And you also wrote instilling empathy.
Oh, okay, I'll get to that. So I kind of switched up like kind of recently how I would do it. Before, I would just sit like where I sat and like try to find the easiest person to draw. But now I walk through the whole like subway car, and I like look back. If I'm like, who looks interesting, who like has something that stands out to me, and like oh, that would be a dope drawing. Like she has this hairstyle. Like today I posted one of a girl that she has like a mohawk and these cool shoes, and I was really inspired by her mohawk and how like the texture of her, like the hair that was shorter, and like the mohawk. I just thought it looked super dope. So I walked through the subway, and I like look for things that like stick out to me. So that's like my investigation of the underground world, I guess, like just investigating who I could capture and like whose essence I could capture. And instilling empathy is like how I could capture someone so accurate that I capture like the feeling that they have, and making you feel how they feel, you know, like putting yourself in their shoes and like by that, especially now during the pandemic, like seeing some people you could see and like there's this one guy that I drew and he's like sitting like this and you could just see that he's like super depressed or you know, you could just read their emotions on their face or in their body language or their clothing, or you could just read their whole entire story through like some drawings or some paintings and like kind of see like where they're from or like what kind of life they lived. It depends, you know, not always, but you know, it's like when I take the train, like let's say going to art and design, I would take the train from the South Bronx to Midtown and you see the demographic change, you know, past like 86th Street. Maybe since then, like since gentrification is happening more, like it shifted up maybe to like 96th Street or like 103rd.
Yeah, because now the line runs to 96. That's the last.
Yeah. So
last queue.
But yeah, you could you could just see, huh?
The last stop of the Q train.
Oh, the Q. I think you said that's Q.
That is also Q.
So just seeing
yeah, that's cute.
you know, just seeing all the different lives that we see on the subway.
Yo, your cell phone's not in your pocket. Why do you keep reaching for it?
No, I'm like playing with this quarter.
What stands out to you? Like the mohawk? Remember you were talking about, like, there's this photographer named Bill Cunningham. You ever heard of him? He's dead now.
No.
But he was the Time style section photographer. He always wore a blue windbreaker. Great documentary about him. And he would hang out in certain locations and he would photograph street style. And this wasn't like air quote street style. This was just like looks he thought were interesting, styles that he saw on the street. Yeah. But then there's a phenomenon that happened, basically, where people
were going to that spot.
Yeah, and they would like model walk it back and forth. They put in a day's work going back and forth trying to get that shot with Bill. Are you starting to see that?
I mean, people tell me that in my comment section, like, I'm getting on the subway, I don't find you.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, what I like about the mohawk, it's cool to draw and cool to capture, and it's also cool to capture like all kinds of New Yorkers, like like the drawing becomes a different drawing with all these different characters, you know, like there's so many different, like basically they give me the art, you know, like they give me this whole story and this whole
break that down. They give you the art. Break that down. They're doing the work for you. You just got good enough to where you can.
Well, I have the art where like
Michelangelo when he did David. He said that basically it was there in the solid rock, and he just found it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, well, don't put my quote next to Michelangelo. But
he's like a SoundCloud rapper, right?
You think he'll be on TikTok if Michelangelo was alive?
I'm pretty impressed by my statement about Picasso that more people have seen your shit than that.
Yeah, well,
I can't.
Anybody that hears that, hate him for saying that. Don't hate me for saying that. I'm
not saying it's good. I'm just saying there's more eyes nowadays.
Yeah.
But anyways, continue.
Like I have the art where like I'm selective with who I draw, and you know whatever goes into that is like that's me. So like. I'm the artist that's choosing who I'm drawing. So all that history that I have, you know, somehow gets into this decision making of who I want to draw, and like, you know, my taste and my you know, just my selectivity. But what I mean by they give me the art is they give me a whole life story that goes into the drawing that they came with, you know. Like they lent me that, you know, like the clothing, the body language, the gestures, the facial expression, the mask. That was given to me, you know.
Are you still at your very highest aspiration? Where will you and your art be?
I'm not really sure because what happened recently was supposed to come at 30 or 40. I don't know. So like I'm supposed to be asked that question when I'm 40, but now that this happened, I just don't know how to answer that. Like I'm telling you, I feel very lucky with what happened to my life. So
but what about simplify it?
Just I mean,
Smithsonian, which you're about to speak at.
I don't know. Like, I don't know where.
What's the like we talked about the word association, like a word would pop up. Is there like a certain place you'd want to see? Do you want to direct films? Is there another medium you want to explore?
Maybe, but right now I'm sorry, this is gonna be my worst answer of the day.
Let's hear it.
No, I'm just saying, like, just me not knowing is my worst answer.
Is there comfort in not knowing, or are you afraid of that?
There's like a comfort in not knowing.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
Yeah.
Now that surrendering yourself to the higher purpose, which you felt so strongly earlier, is that as stronger, or weaker now compared to young Devon?
Way stronger. Like the
Turn it up.
Like the trajectory of where I was going just like went upwards. Like it was going up, but now it just like raised, like the angle just raised higher. So not because of my doing, it just happened. Well, there's a lot of my doing, but like I said,
but you pepper magic in there. I like that you say magic.
Yeah.
That's you can be the best magician on earth. You still got to drive to the gig. Like you still gotta buy the rabbit to pull out of a hat. Like you're putting a lot of work in. You are a product of your environment. How do you catch a flu? You hang out with people that are sick.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in that. Right. Do you have peers that you feel like other artists doing? Not really. I mean, this was a different question in 2018 because you had fine artists that you were working with. But do you have peers now that you're talking to, like TikTok influencers, things that you're kind of chatting with? That help? It's a feeling of.
Yeah. Well, my peers. Yeah, well, I'm trying to think how to answer this, but yeah.
You don't have to name names, but are there a group of people?
Yeah, and my peers are kind of not a normal 24-year-old Bronx kids peers, like John Ahern or like Diane, like.
But that's the fine art, which we had talked about. Yeah, which yes, from the art standpoint, but with this new phenomenon of TikTok.
Yeah.
John Ahern, Diane, no one can understand what's going on now with this.
Yeah. I think as I do it, those people just get attracted into my life. Like,
yeah.
I talk to people like, it's funny in 2020, so many people, we all have like a bunch of internet friends that we feel like are real friends, and they are real friends, but it's funny how much connections we have with internet people.
Totally. Yeah. Like you never been to a restaurant with them.
Yeah, exactly. But you have the same mind and the same, like, you connect with them more because you guys attract to each other more than somebody you just so happen to meet. Like, what are the chances that you meet somebody that you think like because of circumstances? But on the internet, it's easier to like.
Well, it's also easier because you're both operating on your highlight reels.
Yeah.
Like you don't have mustard on your shirt on the internet when you meet somebody.
Yeah.
Let's wrap this up.
Okay.
What advice would you give an artist now? We're gonna do this in different parts, okay? What advice would you give an artist now? Let's say a fine artist, like contemporary, we'll call it, because you always have to stay apprised with what's contemporary now. But what would you give advice to a contemporary or a fine artist right now, if you could give one piece of advice?
Right now, my advice would be to follow something that you love because it becomes way easier. Don't follow something because somebody else is successful at it. Like if you don't like to draw, but that you see me drawing and you think, oh, Devon did it, like maybe it'll work with me. It's not gonna work because for me, drawing is not. It's fun. It's something that I've been doing since I was a kid, and I didn't have a coach as a 5-year-old. Like, oh, you're gonna draw this. I just naturally drew. So it's like somebody that loves to party, and then you want to party, but you're not really into partying. You're never gonna out party him because he loves to do it. The days that it's hard, he doesn't have days that it's hard. So all those hours stacked up is like the formula for success with the magic.
With the magic.
The magic just goes in there somehow.
The magic's got to be on a merch somewhere. It's got to be some merch.
The magic.
Dude, we're good. We're out. Is this it? I mean, we're gonna hang out more. But anything else you can think
of? Nope.
2 hours, 55 minutes. Thank you all for listening so much. I guess I'll just call it Max White Presents.